happy. You nailed it, Sharon. Happy Wednesday, everybody, wherever you are, however you may be listening. Thanks for making us part of your day. And it looks like we are back on TikTok today. Holy smokes. We took a flyer, and the backup, our main account is still banned, probably forever. But we are back on TikTok. So, yeah, Rasta, we'll see how long this lasts. If you are on TikTok, might I say this, and I'll remind you that we get ad revenue from the other places where we stream, and TikTok gives us very little. So if you are going to use TikTok, I appreciate you. If you could consider contributing to our gift goal while you're there, that would be greatly appreciated. And we'll see if we want to keep TikTok up and running. But for now, it's great. It's on RTP Talks, TOKS. If you want to do it on TikTok. It's not the old main account, it's the backup account, but we are up and running. So good to see all those TikTokers here. Don't leave me. Don't leave and go find the drama somewhere else on TikTok. We don't need drama this early in the morning. Nobody needs drama this early in the morning. I think we can all just have the news. We can hang out together and watch the news. I also would like to point out that this morning I was about 5 minutes late, but for the first time ever, and not even joking, it was Jen's fault. Good morning, Jen.
Not my fault. Not my fault. I said, let's go. I'm doing my usual OCD thing. You act like this is new news, but I still get
She's like, the thumbnail's not done. I almost have it. That's what happened this morning.
Well, because I have to have it be a little bit more baiting. It was boring. I didn't want boring.
Jen is a master baiter, and she does a really good job with that on our thumbnails. Jen told me a fucking crazy story just a second ago, and can I share it? Why this may not work with one of the people you're dating?
Sure.
This is crazy. Jen, there's red flags for people when they're dating. We all get that. People can have red flags. Or there's certain things, like for Jen, if you're not as tall as a medium-sized fruit tree, Jen will not date you. But she's considering not dating somebody because they have a British accent, which I think is fucking crazy. Can you guys back me up on this? I know that most of the time we side with Jen, but just this one time, can we side with me that's actually kind of crazy?
I didn't say not completely, but it sounded like we talked on the phone, and it felt very formal
because of the accent.
Yeah. It felt like it didn't feel casual. It felt like
like you were at Oxford or something.
Something. I can't place it, but I also I find different things to have issues about, and I know it's a me thing.
No.
I know it's a me thing.
It could not be that.
So, but one good thing is he has good teeth. Like, he doesn't have like.
Oh, he's like he's an evolved Brit. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, in fairness, he's I think lived in the U.S. for the last 20-something years, and he's older.
And he was hanging on to the accent. How much? How much older? Far end of your what's the top end of your spectrum? 66? Because it's 10 years, right? So 10 years older and younger.
So yeah, no. So I think when I was doing the searching, the range that I have in the search is like 35 to 55, and I think he's 56, so just barely over. When
you guys are sexting, does he call you mother instead of mommy?
Yeah.
He wants you to call him father or papa.
Yeah, that's so weird. My grandparents used to do that.
Wait, sorry, I wasn't paying attention. How old did you say he was?
56.
God damn. Well, the good news is you don't have that many years left.
I mean, he's he seems to have like he's got his stuff together, which I should,
you're not really looking for that.
No,
you're looking for a fixer upper.
I know why I choose. I know my picker is broken. This is why I was in dating timeout in the first place. So I'm trying to not do that. But I'm working on it. I'm a work in progress. So
you're also one short of a starting 5. You're at the rotation is at 4 now. So I think we've got a fifth.
I think there's 5 actually.
Oh, there is 5. Okay, I was gonna open it up to the chat if people wanted to shoot their shot.
The chat, no. So ironically, I'm not looking for people who know about the stream. I'm not going to be. I'm not
Jen's
going to
embarrassed
be.
that she works with me. She won't tell people that
I'm
she
not
works with me.
embarrassed. I just try to keep I want to keep the things separate because I mean, obviously, there's.
Also, we
Fun
talk
fact,
shit about all the
there-
people you're dating, so that that might not go well.
I mean, I don't want them knowing necessarily about each other quite yet. And I mean, what if I'm talking to one guy and I say I have a date, and then another guy finds out about it. Like I need to keep them separately. So
Deb says, after a week of texting and phone, I met this guy. He kisses tongue first, hard. That's crazy. Like your tongue he leads with the tongue, Deb? Is that what you're saying? That's crazy. That's a deal breaker.
So he just like rushes out just with tongue. I mean, that's odd.
Yeah. Jen is a hard case. I like this. I like when they're picking on you. It's nice being on the other end of this.
I acknowledge I'm very self-aware of me. So
I'm a fan of an accent, to be honest. I like an accent. I think the best accent in the world is like northern Minnesota. Give me all the northern Minnesota. Long O's. That's going to get clipped.
I mean, I guess part of it, it's like, so we did talk on the phone. I have had a couple, like, which is funny. There are like, I'm guessing a lot of these men get bots or people. I mean, women pretending to be something. So it's like they want confirmation that I'm real, that I look like the pictures I posted.
So what do you do for that? You don't FaceTime.
I mean, I could.
But you said you don't.
I didn't say I don't.
I thought you said you don't FaceTime the other day. Didn't she say that, guys?
No. I didn't say that.
Did she not say that? I thought you said you don't do FaceTime.
No, that's not what I didn't say that. No.
I don't talk to that many other people. Who would have said that? Just as long as it was you. I don't talk to anybody. Huh.
No. I mean, if it's
that would suck if I had a dream about talking about your dating life and I remembered that as a dream. That would be terrible. I hope that's not the case.
I mean, yeah. So I mean, there's, yeah. I mean, so I'm just figuring it out. So I have date prospects. I more or less think 3 or 4 of them mentioned wanting to go out this week. But I can't go out a ton, obviously, because Spawn wouldn't like that. So I kind of pick and choose, and then I'll have to move some other.
I heard the ages of like 10 to 13 are like the hardest ages for kids, like when their parents get in a new relationship, just because like they're going through all the hormone changes. That's what I've heard. I have no idea if that's true.
This age is trash. I can't stand it. I love her, but I can't stand her right now. I can't stand her.
For those of you that are joining us on TikTok, I know some of you were just rolling in. We have been gone for a long time. That was not by choice. We were our main account is banned forever. This is the backup account, and they would not give us access to stream on TikTok. We have it today. However, we are not exactly a pro Israel channel, and so I don't expect this to last. While you're here, if you could just do me a favor, share that out to your other TikTok friends, let them know, and if you could donate to our gift goal to keep this going, that would be greatly appreciated. As well, as you know, TikTok does not share their ad revenue with us. They get all this free labor. So if you're going to be watching on TikTok, we would love to have some help to keep this show going. And for everybody else on YouTube and Twitch, the OGs, thank you guys so much for being here each and every single day. And this show's for you. Jen, do you want to do any announcements before we get going?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
So, welcome back, TikTok. If we can get liking the live over there, let's get up to.
We probably have to adjust some mods too, right? We probably have to add mods on.
I think I'll double check that.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll double check that after announcements. Yeah. So let's get like tapping over on TikTok. We are back over there. So on TikTok, I know you guys haven't seen us in a minute, but we're here for now. So this is our job, and we do this each day, Monday through Friday, from 9:30 to 1 Pacific Standard Time. We have a gift goal, and so we prefer the pay links that are listed underneath Jay in the white writing. So Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Super Chats, all go
Speaking of
towards
which,
knocking
Cam
out.
said Jen out here dating Steve Hilton.
Yeah, I saw that. But anyways, yeah, so we need to hit the gift goal day because this is our job. So if you guys could help us out quick, fast, and in a hurry, that would be awesome. I don't necessarily, I mean, I guess we can, if you're a paid member or subscriber on any of the platforms, this feels so weird. I haven't looped in TikTok in my announcements in quite some time, so I'm a little off.
Jen's a
But
rusty
anyways.
trombone today.
So dumb. So yeah,
That just means
so
you haven't done it for a while, I think. I'm pretty sure that's what a rusty trombone is.
Yeah, that's exactly what that means. So if you're a paid member, subscriber on any of the platforms, you can join us for members only events, which we have one later tonight, or watching the 2 or 3 episodes of Company Retreat, however many that are left. We're watching that together, finishing off the series. So if you're a paid member, subscriber on any of the platforms, you can join us for that. Yeah, it's a good time. Have fun. Jay asked, we do kind of like a ask me anything type stuff. Jay makes up answers for me if I'm not right there. So it's good.
Looking forward to tonight. Yeah.
So yeah. If you guys disagree with RTB and would like to have a conversation, how you do that is you send me a message on Discord. My Discord username is the same as the Venmo. So Jen with 2 N's, W 2 B's, the number 1. And I can bring you on and have a conversation. Check out the link tree in the bio. On most social media platforms, we've got merch. Jay's on Cameo. We upload these episodes to Spotify. And this joke came from, I don't know how to pronounce their name. Kandarian? I'm probably saying that wrong. But what has more letters than the alphabet?
I mean, I feel like a lot of things, like books. I don't know.
The post office.
Maybe not. Do you think there's more than like? How many letters do you think get sent a day? Like actual letters? I don't know. We should start sending letters. Let's go back to that. Let's go back. When I was a Mormon missionary, we had to communicate by letters, and that was fun to get a letter in the mail every once in a while. Maybe we should open up like a mailbox here, and I'll read your guys' mail. We could do that. All right. Thank you, Jen. Welcome, everybody. Great to have TikTok back and YouTube and Twitch. Always great to have you guys here. YouTube is the chat with all the drama, and Twitch is the best chat on the internet. So if you're looking to be part of the best chat on the internet, head to Twitch. If you're looking for the most insane chat on the internet, head to YouTube. And if you are somebody with severe ADHD and have to scroll through lives over and over and over again, I highly recommend TikTok, where your 10-second attention span can be catered to. But let's kick things off today, like many days, with Harry Enton. This is some polling that I do believe I've actually shared it before, but one thing I'm really happy about is that as we're seeing these primaries roll out, people who are winning Democratic primaries are running on healthcare, and healthcare is a real fucking problem for a good deal of Americans. And even the Maha and MAGA faithful are finding out just how bad things can get in the healthcare system when you elect dipshits. You would call it just dipshits.
CNN chief data analyst Harry Enton is with us now. So this is just sort of the latest incidents of drama within the department here. How do Americans view the Secretary of Health and Human Services?
Yeah, drama in that department worthy of a soap opera. And I will tell you, the Maha math, which used to be good, is no longer good in the minds of the American public. Let's just take a look at RFK's net favorability rating. You go back to January 2025. He was in the plus side. He was a positive for this administration. But down he goes into the Red Sea, now minus 15 points. And among independents, he has gone from plus 7 to minus 26 points. Remember, RFK was a very important endorsement that Trump got during the 2024 campaign. And there was a reason for that. He brought a lot of voters with him, which seemed positive by a lot of those in the electorate, but no longer RFK Jr. clearly in the red.
How is the president doing broadly?
Thank you, Kelly, for the Antifa dudes, and Damien for joining the Dollar Train. Appreciate you guys.
Speaking on the issue of health care.
Yeah, if we talk about health care, why don't we just look at the highest disapproval ratings for presidents this century? And you can see it right here. The one in red on your screen, Donald Trump, 65% disapprove of him on health care. That is the highest.
You're telling me an Ebola outbreak is bad? Yeah. Probably. It's probably not good.
The highest for any president this century. Biden was at 57%. That was his highest. Obama, remember, this was around the Obamacare debate, right? He was at 63%. Trump's actually beating him on this score. It's just a score you don't want to be winning on. And then, of course, Bush, when there was all this talk about privatizing Social Security, he was at 63%. But Donald Trump takes the cake on this issue. 65% disapproval, the highest for any president this century.
I have to say, my major takeaway here is how unpopular every president
that is also
has
true.
been on healthcare. I'm surprised.
That's because our healthcare system sucks, and we have to do single-payer Medicare for all. It's the only solution that will actually bring these numbers into a satisfactory level. But we're so afraid of the word socialism in this country that we can't have good things because of 100 years of propaganda, which sucks. Isn't it embarrassing? I think that's one of the most embarrassing things about being an American is like, why don't you guys have universal health care? Oh, we're afraid of a word called socialism. And a bunch of rich people in the 20s and 30s started a propaganda war. And then after the Cold War, it escalated. And now we're afraid of a word. So we can't have good things because words are scary. That's the only reason we have this shitty healthcare system. Who pays for it? Who pays for it? We do. We do. Just all healthcare is paid for by people, whether it's paid for, whether the government writes the check or the health insurance company writes the check. We do. This is another problem I have with America. This is what's embarrassing about America. How is that your question? How does anybody pay? Who pays for anything? Who pays for your insurance now? You do. What's the difference? We could just have cheaper, better healthcare. I don't want to do that. I'm so scarce of the good health cares.
That everyone doing so badly on this issue, given what a big issue it has been over the last several years. All right. Robert Kennedy Jr., obviously one of the biggest issues surrounding him, his controversial views on vaccines. Like, what are Americans saying about that?
Yeah, let me just tell you that Democrats...
You don't pay for health insurance. You don't pay for insurance. Yes, you do. Nah, dog. If you probably pay for Medicare. You probably pay for Medicare and Medicaid. Your state probably provides health care for people who can't afford it, and you probably pay for that with your taxes. There's nobody in this country that's working that doesn't pay for somebody else's health care in one way or another. It's a dumb argument.
Democrats would love for the 2026 midterm elections to be about vaccine policy, because on this particular issue, they are trusted far more than Republicans. Look at this. They got a 16-point lead on vaccine policy. You know, there are other parts of MAHA that I think...
I got great news for you, Todd. Make the companies that pay for their workers pay into Medicare. They will. That's how it's paid for, my friend. The companies will also subsidize that. Instead of paying that money to some douchebag in a suit at United Healthcare, that money will go towards our healthcare, and our government will cut the check instead of United Healthcare. That's the great news. You can go to Bernie Sanders. You can just Google Bernie Sanders Medicare for All, and you can. There's a one page on how we would pay for it. And one of the ways is having the employers who already pay for insurance actually just fund that insurance the other way. It's like a 6% tax, I think, is one of the ways that you could pay for this. Like I think it's like 6.3%. Which is much lower than the average cost of healthcare now for the majority of Americans. So you would save money and everybody would have healthcare and you would have no copay and no deductible. But socialism's scary and Republicans are owned by the corporations, so we just have to continue to be scared and have shitty healthcare.
Popular, such as taking out, food dyes from certain foods. But the bottom line is that when it comes to vaccine policy, that is not a popular part of the MAHA movement. Democrats crush on this. Any talk about vaccine policy in this country, especially changing it, Democrats win politically speaking, no doubt about it. The numbers clear as day.
It'll be very interesting to hear what is actually said out loud from the administration, not just HHS, about vaccines between now and November.
Yeah, I think they're going to really have to tiptoe around it unless they want to take the wrath of the American public.
Harold.
Funny you talk about your state healthcare. What? You talk about your Medicare? You're talking about Medicare? Do you not think that that's federally funded? Hold on. We're going to talk to Nawdog. Nawdog, you don't think that Medicare is federally funded? that what you're saying? I'm not going to read all your comments. I'm asking you a question. No, you said state. I read yours. You said state. I'm not talking about state Medicare. I'm talking about Medicare for all. That's the entire country. Yeah, I'm not for state provided. I'm for Medicare for all. It's a national program. I'm talking to somebody on the YouTube chat. Oh my God, not you again. I quoted you. Okay, well, if I said state, I didn't mean state, because obviously Medicare for all is not a state funded program. I'm against federal. Why? Why are you against federal? Do you just not understand how insurance works? See, here's the thing. If you're United Healthcare, what does United Healthcare want to do? Do they want to have healthcare just in one state, or do they want to have it in all 50 states? They'd like to have it in all 50 states. Why do they want to have it in all 50 states? Because the more people you have in a healthcare system, the more evenly it's distributed, right? And the easier it is for you to pay for things. Like, you want more people paying in, and that way, when you have to pay large bills, like, it's evenly dispersed and evenly distributed and evenly paid for. There is no good argument for why you would localize it. Because cultural differences matter. What cultural differences would you have in paying for healthcare? Oh, you just want states to be able to say that they won't pay for abortions. I get it. Yeah, I get it. Okay, got it now. I want my racist, bigoted state to be able to do racist and bigoted things. Let me tell you something about culture shit. That doesn't matter. That's just people being complainers and being thin-skinned and not being able to handle that human beings are different and everybody's walk of life is a little bit different. That's why. There is no other guest. TikTok, well, Jesus Christ, we're going to deal with TikTok today. TikTok, I talk to the chat. Okay, this is different. I'm talking to somebody in the YouTube chat. You're going to miss that. You can head over to YouTube if you want to see that. But I talk to the chat mostly. Yeah, that's a dumb argument. It really is. Like, you would rather have a worse system that was run by the states just so that your bigoted views can keep people from getting health care that they need. That's cool. Well, then what are the cultural differences then? I said trans people. I said abortions. Okay, so what cultural differences would matter? I get you. You're pro-choice. Gotcha. What cultural differences would matter? Give me an example of a cultural difference that would lead you to want state-run programs instead. I have a Nazi flag on my shirt? Oh. All right. What is going on today? Not everyone. Not everyone wants universal health care. Some people are stupid. Some people would rather have shittier health care. I agree. But we're going to, we just need a majority of the people to want universal health care. And then they can, not everybody wants private health care, but guess what? We're stuck with that shit, aren't we? It's the way that it goes. You have to get rid of private health care in order for single payer Medicare for all to work. You need everybody paying in. So sorry. I think some people are just going to have to suck it up. You are allowed to be stupid, and I'm allowed to tell you you're stupid. I think that's where we're at here, Nah Dog. Like, you don't actually have a good argument. And this goes back to what I was saying. Like, we don't have healthcare because people are scared of words. They're scared of the word socialism. I don't know what the hell you're scared of. Some people just want to pay more for shittier insurance. Sorry. We'll just take care of that. We'll just give you better insurance, and you don't have to have the shitty version. Why would anybody want private health insurance? But it's my freedom to not have insurance. Well, we're going to make it so it's not your freedom to not have insurance. That's the goal. It's just like it's not your freedom to not pay for Medicare or Social Security. We would like to take that freedom away from you because you're fucking everything up. So we want all of you guys with dumb reasons to oppose Medicare for all to be the minority, and then we'll move on with a better system without you. So sorry about that. You might be grumpy, but it'll be better for you. I want to play this interview. It's about 13 minutes long, but it was on MSNBC.
Senator Bernie.
This is pretty sweet. Bernie Sanders and Graham Plattner in the same interview. And the reason I wanted to show this is we had Texas primaries, which we'll cover here in a minute. You had what is his name? Christian Menefee, who beat Al Green, which is pretty crazy. Like Al Green is a legend. He's somebody who has consistently fought for civil rights, and he was beat by a younger Christian Menefee. But the difference between him and Christian Menefee is that Christian Menefee has more progressive policies, and we're looking at both parties. In the Republican Party, if you openly fillet Donald Trump, you win your primary, and in the Democratic Party, if you want progressive policies, if you want single-payer health care, if you want to end aid to Iran, you win. And so we're seeing a real gap being formed between the Republicans and the Democrats. And I think this is a great thing for Democrats because Democrats are the only ones with policy. There is no MAGA policy. There is no Republican policy, just fealty to Donald Trump and socialism bad. So it's nice to have these two people in Graham Plattner and Bernie Sanders who are regularly accused of being communists or socialists. Graham Plattner, you're going to see a bunch of people in the chat saying that Graham Plattner is a Nazi and that we're the party of Nazis. And that's just the only reason they're going to say that is they don't have any arguments against the policy. When you see them only talking about Graham Plattner's tattoo, that's why. And when they call Bernie Sanders a communist, it's because they don't have arguments against the policy.
Bernie Sanders is an independent Vermont. He caucuses with the Democrats. Graham Plattner is Democratic candidate for the Senate from Maine. They have been out together as part of the Fighting Oligarchy Tour. They have an event tonight after our show. It's good to see you both, gentlemen.
Tony, see, this is the problem with you guys. This is what we got to do. We just have to we got to put conservatives into re-education camps. Politicians will never put themselves on Medicare. They'll exempt themselves and their rich donors like they always have. There won't be private health insurance. We will all be on the same insurance. And it's better than what they have. Medicare for all would be better for the people in office than what they already have. Why are all of your arguments stupid? Every one of them. Just admit that you've lost this argument. Just admit that this is a better solution for us. Drop your party bullshit and just accept that we need to do what every country who does healthcare better than us does. Single payer. That's what you need to do. Why in the world would any member of Congress be like, I don't want to be on Medicare for all? Why not? It has better already it has better outcomes than private health insurance. Customer satisfaction is higher. It's better in every way. Imagine what we could do with Medicare for all if it was completely funded. Nobody will want private health insurance. Stop making dog shit arguments because your party has no health care plan. You just want to argue with Democrats. That's it. And that's why these arguments suck. They are nonsense arguments. Let it go. Let's argue about some other policy where you have a decent argument, but not this one. This one you guys just need to cave on.
Butler, let me just start with you. Today, of course, is Memorial Day. People are observing. There's people barbecuing, and there's people commemorating folks and thinking about what this day means. And obviously, someone who served multiple tours in Iraq and Afghanistan, someone who's spoken incredible.
Obamacare wasn't single payer. Look how good Obamacare was private health insurance. None of you know anything. We got to set up camps for you. We got to go to red states, and we need to re-educate every one of these losers. You don't know what any of these words mean.
Incredibly movingly, I have to say, just personally, very movingly about your experience of that, of being in those wars, just how you're feeling and what you're thinking about today on this Memorial Day.
Yeah, well, thanks for having us, Chris. And this morning, actually, Senator Sanders was gracious enough to honor the town of Sullivan, Maine, which is my hometown, to join us at our Memorial Day event. Memorial Day is always a complicated day, I think, for those of us who saw a lot of combat. It's a day where
Thanks, Sally said, happy hump day. Thank you, Michelle. And thank you, Teresa said, missed you. Glad you're back. I missed you too.
we want to remember, and we need to not forget those who made the ultimate sacrifice. But as you mentioned, it's also a day which a lot of people in our society treat as like a holiday. And that's always a little complicated, I think, for those of us who remember our friends who we lost. It's also, quite frankly, at this day and age, a reminder that the best way for us to honor those who have sacrificed for this country is to not create more opportunities for government to waste people's lives like we are seeing in the war in Iran.
That's a winning message. That's a winning message. It's not disrespectful to those who have served. It's appreciative of those who served. And yet The ultimate sign of respect we could give to those people who volunteer their lives to go and serve is to stop sending them in places that they don't need to be and risking their lives and wasting all of our money on foreign wars. That's a great argument. This is why Plattner's going to win. It's because of this messaging. What are the Republicans in Maine going to say? Well, I really do like Donald Trump. It's okay. The gas prices are way up. It's worth it because Iran is scary. It's a winning message.
Very much believe that we need to take moments like today and realize that we have a resource in this country, and the young men and women who are willing to serve it, and it cannot be squandered lightly. And I very much believe that we need to build a politics in the future.
Yeah, but Trump said the same shit. Yeah, and he won. It's a winning message. Again, it depends on, like, you could argue that some people have said that they're afraid of Plattner. They think they might get Fetterman. That's fair. I think you should listen to what politicians say, and then you should hold them accountable to that. And when they're not accountable to that, you should probably turn on them. But that's a game that Republicans don't play. Republicans play this game where they're like, I love what he said. And then when he does the opposite, they're like, haha, we tricked you. So I agree with that. But it is a winning message.
Sure. That takes it seriously enough to not start wars like Iraq or Afghanistan or what's happening in Iran, and realize that the best respect that we can show is by only using it in times when absolutely necessary.
Senator, you've spent a lot of time on the Veterans Committee in the United States Senate.
Yes, Tom, and Republicans should admit that they're dumb. Everything Donald Trump said on the campaign trail was an obvious lie, and we all saw through it then. And you guys are just pretending like he didn't lie about everything, like that he's actually following through on what he said he was going to do and not doing the exact opposite. Yeah, admit that you were dumb, or like just stop supporting him. One of those two.
And veteran services and healthcare has been an issue that has been very, very front and center for your career in the legislature, both in the House and the Senate. Your thoughts, particularly as we get some news that maybe there isn't a deal to end the kind of frozen conflict with Iran right now?
Well, certainly, I hope that there will be. The problem is we have a president who lies all of the time, and it's hard to know what is true and what is not true. But, you know, going back...
Tom, Donald Trump has increased his net worth more than all the presidents combined. Take every president combined, and Donald Trump has made more than all of them combined. There's the answer to your question. And the reason that they all came in with less money than they left, they don't leave with money. They get money after they leave office because they have book deals and speaking deals. And if you want to if we want to pass legislation to bar them from doing that, I'm fine with that. But stop. Like, it's so fucking stupid when you make these dumb arguments. Stop it. Donald Trump is the most corrupt out of all of them by every measure.
To what Graham just said, I am thinking about my generation, where we experienced the war in Vietnam. 59,000 plus young men died. Many more died after they came home on the streets, with drug addiction and etc. And that was a war based on a lie, as was the war in Iraq. And we need a foreign policy which is designed to improve life for people all over the world, to do our best to make sure that we do not have these never-ending wars that we're now seeing in Iran, and which honors and respects.
I would love somebody to, in a manner that was a little quicker than Bernie, crystallize this, because one of the messages of America First that I think perhaps like we on our side had a misunderstanding of what the right thought America First was. I admittedly, I wanted to believe it wasn't as like bigoted and it wasn't as selfish as it actually turned out to be. And that's kind of what it's turned out to be. It's America First, just meaning we can treat everybody else like absolute horseshit. I would love progressives to adopt more of this mentality from Bernie. That's like, we are powerful. And if we want peace and we want a better economy and we want more stability, perhaps what we should do is we should focus on making the world a better place. And we've never made the world a better place by sending in our military. That never works. We've killed some bad people by sending in the military, but rarely does it make the world a better place. You could probably argue World War II made the world a better place. I think we'd argue that, but rarely. I can't think of anything post World War II where sending in the military made the world a better place. It just sometimes killed some bad people. That's like America First is world first. You want free trade? Let's have good relationships with people. You want to spend less money on the military? Let's have good relationships with people. You want to stop worrying about China and Russia spying and interfering in our elections? Let's make our elections uncorruptible. Let's get all money out of politics. Let's make sure that when you're running political ads online that you can't just do spam political ads. Get rid of political action groups entirely. This is the anti MAGA America First message that I think some people are starting to grasp. I think Bernie does a good job. He just not a lot of energy coming from him, but that's the message that I think works across the aisles.
The men and women.
As Guy Fawkes says, Nah Dog is proof that MAGA only cares about all of us being as miserable as they are. It's why we can't have nice things. It's hard to argue that.
Sacrifice their lives to make sure that they do not have to put their lives on the line in wars that should not be fought.
The title for the event, the tour, Senator Sanders, that you've been on, called a Fighting Oligarchy Tour. This is one of those stops. I think one of the people I think that you would consider an oligarch, and I think probably fits the textbook definition, would be Jeff Bezos. Of course, one or two richest men in the world, depending on what the stock is doing that day. And there's been an interesting debate that's opened up about taxes, about tax fairness. Particularly different Democrats have had different proposals about tax fairness. And I want to play something he said about his own tax verdict and get your response, Mr. Plattner, and yours, Senator Sanders. This is what he had to say about the idea of doubling his taxes and that it wouldn't really help very much. Take a listen.
If people want me to pay more billions, right, then let's have that debate. But don't pretend, that's going to solve the problem. You could double the taxes I pay, and it's not going to help that teacher in Queens. I promise you.
Jeff Bezos is smarter than that, but he's talking to dumb people. That message is for dumb people. And I think we should clear this up. The reason that you tax the rich isn't to take their money and redistribute it. It's to realign the everybody's collective, realigning America to fight for the collective good. When you raise taxes on the billionaire class, they have two options. They can pay those taxes, and that'll be used for government programs, or they can pay their workers more. If you want to take your income down, pay your workers more. Share the wealth. That's why when we had, if you can go look, and you can look at the times when we had, 70, 80, 90% top marginal tax rates, it actually didn't increase the percentage that the top earners were paying. What it did is it forced the money into the middle class. And then that forces money into poor folks. And you had an expanding middle class. It was consistently expanding. It was by far the biggest, the biggest accumulation of wealth was in the middle class. This tax the rich idea, and I think progressives do a bad job messaging this as well. I do think there's the criticism that it's just demonizing billionaires is probably a fair criticism. However, fuck billionaires. Right? Like, they got there by being unethical, so fuck them. But the reason that you want this progressive tax policy is to force them to pay people more. And you want that money to be more spread out. You want that middle class to be expanding. You don't want a class system like this. And Bezos knows that. But the billionaires always do the same thing. They go, oh, you can't tax us enough to pay for all of our bills, therefore don't tax us. It's always their solution. Therefore, just don't tax us. Since you can't fix it, you might as well. And Republicans are like, oh, that's true. Yeah, I guess we just have a spending problem, so we better not tax them. And that's how we're $39 trillion in debt. We've been doing this for 50 years now. Oh, we can't pay for everything with their money? Oh, okay. But if that money trickles down, then everybody pays more. You know what else happens? Less people need government assistance. Less people need food stamps. Less people need housing subsidies. Less people need, I would love Medicare for all, but less people would need to be on Medicare and Medicaid. Less people would need to be on local and state assistance because they would have more money. You want to fix these problems, just change the tax policy. There's a 50-year period in America that shows what happens when you have a progressive tax policy where it maxes out at 70 to 90%. We have 50 years of data on that. The 50 years of data there say that it was beautiful for the middle class. The wealthy were still extremely wealthy. They were still some of the wealthiest in the world. We were still one of the wealthiest country in the world. It's just that it wasn't consolidated in the hands of 6 people. That's what you need to do. Like Jeff Bezos's wealth should be spread out amongst the people at Amazon. Give people stock options, give people retirement, give them health care. Give them something worth coming to work every day. My grandfather worked at Geneva Steel, which was a steel mill in Utah County that went away in the early 90s after we started offshoring all of our steel manufacturing. But like 50% of the county was employed at the steel mill. Did they love their job? No. Why did they work there? Because they'd work for 30 years and retire with a pension. They made good money for 30 years. They had vacations. They had paid vacations. And then they retired with a pension. Why? What was the tax? What was the top tax bracket? About 70%. It was forced down. And the starting with Ronald Reagan, the GOP has done nothing but go after your rights as workers. There's a reason that most of you who work don't have a pension. There's a reason that why most of you that work don't have stock options. There's a reason that many of you who work have a 401k that's dog shit. There's a reason that, for a lot of you that you're in a shitty job and you only stay there because your insurance is tied to that job. There are a lot of you who could go work for yourselves. You might want to start your own business, but why can't you? You might have 3 kids. Well, what if my kid breaks his leg while I'm in the startup process? That'll bankrupt my business. I can't afford to start a business because healthcare is too expensive. So I have to stay at this dead-end fucking job. And what's going to happen at your dead-end fucking job when it's time to pay investors? When the stock price drops, they're just going to cut you loose. They're going to fire you because the overhead's too high. They're doing 401k matches. Your salary probably goes up annually with a 3% raise or whatever it might be. Maybe you've got a retirement that they're looking into the future and like, shit, we don't want to pay that out. And so they just replace you with somebody younger that gets less options and that they can pay less. It is alarming to watch conservatives after 50 years. I get it at the time, 82. It sounded good. Ronald Reagan was a hell of a salesman. Like, hey guys, we're all going to keep more of our money. This is great. I watched a speech from him yesterday where he's like, we will be the richest country in the world. You're going to keep more of your money. And everybody's like, amazing. He won in a landslide. He dominated. Everybody thought it was a good idea because they were projecting out what trickle-down economics would look like. They were wrong. Art Laffer's is a dumb motherfucker. He was wrong. The Laffer curve is absolute bullshit. All that happened is the consolidation of wealth just went upward, and now it's like the top 1% of the 1% hold such an insane, disproportionate amount of wealth. And we look at that data, and we look at what's happened. To anybody here that's like under the age of 50, what did your grandparents do? Did both of your grandparents work? Probably not. Did just one work? Probably. Did they have a pension? Probably. Did they have retirement? Probably. Did after they hit 55 for the rest of the time that they were alive, were they able to pay their bills? Did they own a house? Did they go on vacation? Did they go down to Florida and play shuffleboard? Probably. Why do you think that happened? How do you think that happened? What, you think that American dream went away because of liberals? What progressive policies could you look at that would say, oh, it's the liberals that fucked this up? It's one thing. It's trickle-down economics. It doesn't fucking work. There's no argument for it. Art Laffer, nobody can even find Art Laffer. We haven't seen Art Laffer since he destroyed Kansas. I don't remember who the governor of Kansas was, but he brought in Art Laffer as like his economic advisor. And they tried trickle-down economics for like 3 years. And it completely destroyed. Kansas went from budget surplus to budget deficit, and the whole state fell apart. And nobody heard from Art Laffer until this administration, because Trump's just bringing back all the dog shit ideas. Let's go to war in the Middle East. Let's listen to Israel more. Let's talk about the Laffer curve. It doesn't work, and there's no argument for it. It never fucking works. But somehow, some way, these Republican lawmakers have and Fox News have convinced you that all of the problems you have are actually because of progressive ideas. What progressive ideas have we had? What progressive ideas have we tried? None. We've been doing trickle-down economics since 1982. It doesn't work. Brownback, thank you. Hey, I got some scholars here. Brownback was the governor in Kansas. Well done, Nilo Lar. W in the chat for Nilo Lar. That was really well done.
Mr. Plattner, what do you think of that?
Oh, I think it's abject nonsense. I think that's what somebody says when they don't want to see their taxes go up. There's absolutely no...
Sorry, you're right. No, my grandma had 6 kids. No such thing as a non-working mother. I meant like in the workforce, obviously. Moms work, but also their labor should be paid. Moms should be paid. There should be some sort of universal income for mothers. I don't know why we don't value the labor of mothers, but good point to remind us of there.
No question that if we target the wealth where it has been hoarded, frankly, for decades at this point, and we pull it back into our system and put it into social programs like healthcare, like childcare, like paying teachers what they are worth, we will absolutely improve the lives of working Americans and, quite frankly, improve our society as a whole. It's, I think what he is pitching is propaganda. It's meant to protect himself and protect his...
A 5-minute mute for Tom for just saying the same thing over and over again. Tom, come back with better points, like original points.
Friends, and we're going to come after them for it.
Senator, he also pivoted to an idea.
All right, Tom, I'll give you a chance. Tom, in what way are we in a better place now than we were 20 years ago? Don't mute Tom now. Let's give Tom a chance. Tom, give me some examples of ways that we are better off now than 20 years ago. Let's talk about that. I want specific things. Like specific government programs or like policy and how it's led to us being in a better place now.
Like cutting taxes.
Too late, Djibouti? No, sorry. All right, Tom, when you come back, we'll give you 5 minutes to think about it.
The bottom 50% would pay any taxes. There's been a lot of Democrats, interestingly, proposing things along that line, big exemptions at the bottom.
We're already restricted on TikTok. Right.
I think Senator Booker has a version, Senator Van Hollen. People, I think, who talk about this progressive. Congresswoman AOC has come out against it, saying, look, the best way that we build a kind of society and tax system that works for all is that everyone's paying in and everyone's benefiting, more like what we see around Social Security, Medicare, more what we see in Europe. Where are you on that?
Well, what I know is that today we have more income and wealth inequality than we have ever had in the history of this country. Much more.
Ever. That's a big number. Ever. That's saying a lot. We had like the robber barons in the early 1900s. Ever. This is the most wealth inequality we've ever had. Just a reminder, guys, we are crowdfunded. If you could help us knock out that gift goal by the end of the live, that'd be greatly appreciated. I see there's like 2,000 people here on TikTok. Guys, this is our first day back on TikTok. I appreciate you being here. If you want to help knock out our gift goal, that would be great. Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, and of course, TikTok gifts. I can't really count those towards the gift, and super chats. Appreciate you guys being here.
Worse than the so-called Gilded Age. And I know that at a time when the top 1% owns more wealth than the bottom 93%, when people like Bezos and Musk own more wealth than, so many Americans combined. Musk himself owns more.
Oh, that might be total views. I don't know. It doesn't show me concurrent viewers. It shows me total viewers. I don't know how many concurrent viewers we have. Maybe I'm way off on the total viewers. Sorry.
Wealth in the bottom 53% of American households. Meanwhile, the effective tax rate of billionaires is lower than that of a nurse or a truck driver. So, of course, we need to demand that the wealthiest people in this country, the billionaire class, start paying their fair share of taxes, which is why I've introduced legislation calling for a 5% annual tax on the wealth of billionaires. That's less than 1,000 Americans. And, Chris, if we do that, we raise enough revenue to provide a $3,000 check for every man, woman, and child in families under 150,000. We can make sure that everybody who was thrown off of health care by Trump gets reinstated. And we can do enormous things for the American people. The point is, there is so much inequality right now.
Sherry said, eat the rich. Sherry.
That taxes on billionaires can transform life for the working class of this country, which is right now struggling to pay the bills.
Fax wants to remind us that this is the one resident of Vermont. There's only one resident of Vermont. It's Bernie Sanders, and he is doing the work.
You're trying to make the case to the folks in your home state of Maine to vote out a 5-term incumbent, someone who's been a real, I think it's fair to say, an institution in Maine life, and comes from a sort of political family and has been there for a very long time. Probably has name recognition north of 99%. I think it's fair to say in Maine, who has beaten back other challenges. Why do you think? What is different this time? What is the case for why Mainers should turn away from someone who has been such an institution in that state through Democratic and Republican institutions?
Well, I mean, quite frankly, because as an institution, she has overseen the deterioration of material conditions for working people in this state.
I didn't know that, Ruth. The peso is down 16.8 to 1 USD now. Yikes.
I mean, where we are today is worse
Maybe because she's literally dying in her seat.
than where we were when she entered the Senate. We have fewer hospitals. We have fewer schools. Housing has become an abject nightmare for younger people in the state. And
She also promised to only serve 2 terms, and she served 200 terms.
elderly, for that matter. We have seen people living on fixed incomes see their benefits continue to stay small while the price of everything else goes up. She has been...
David, let me ask you a question. And Dave, I would love this if you could engage with me. David said, the rich already pay almost all the taxes now. How about we talk about cutting instead of raising? I think that it's like the top 1%. They pay about 40% of the taxes. I don't remember what the number is. But they own about 60% of the wealth. David, if they pay less than their percentage of the wealth that they own, wouldn't you say they're not paying enough? This is another trick that Republicans use on their donors who or not donors, their voters who don't think for themselves. Like if you and I, David, just had a city together and we were splitting the bills, and let's say there's 100 of us, and you and I are in charge of paying the bills, and the total amount of money that the people in the city have is $1 million, and I have $950,000. And everybody else collectively has $50. And I say, I'm paying $400,000. And they're paying $4. You'd be like, oh, this guy's already this guy's already paying so let's say what did I say, 950? Let's say 450,000. And they're paying, because they have $50, they're paying $4. Am I paying my fair share? Because I have 90% of the wealth. In order for you to determine somebody's share, you need to look at the amount of wealth and money that they have, and then take that their effective rate. Billionaires' effective rate, and this is just, I think it was people over 100 million. Their effective rate is less than 20%. There it is, liquor store. The top 1% earns about 20.6% of all income in the U.S., but pays 38.4% of the income tax. Not earned, though. Not earned, right? Now you're using earned. So that doesn't account for their accumulation of wealth. Most of their wealth, they're able to not have tax. This is another trick that they just use on you. Stop this shit. They're able to hide all of their wealth. They're able to hide all of their money and shield it from taxes. So now you're talking about earned income, where they've set the laws so that the earned income doesn't count as earned income. Right? Because what does the top 1% own? Let's look at percentage of wealth by the top 1%. Just 1% of the people own 31.7% of the nation's total household wealth. That means they hold as much wealth as the bottom 90%. And again, it's not about taking more money from them. I don't really care if we take more money from them. I want to incentivize them to pay the people that work for them more money. I want them to share in the labor. Like, these people who are doing labor for them should share in the profits. They should share when the company's value goes up. They should share in that. Then we wouldn't really have to worry about that wealth, right? But that wealth protects you. It allows these people to take out 0% interest loans against their stock, and they basically never have to pay any of it back. They're just living for free. They've created every loophole in the world to not pay taxes. The billionaires themselves, you want to look at the effective rate of, like, Jeff Bezos, who we're talking about here. What was Jeff Bezos' effective tax rate in? We probably got to go back to 2024 to get an accurate number. Amazon as a corporation, their effective tax rate was 1.4%. You don't think that's a problem? And they're not paying people shit. My super conservative brother-in-law rails against progressive policies, but enjoys his profit sharing program at his energy company. Yeah, we all have like those conservative retired people that absolutely hate progressives, and they got profit sharing their whole life, and they're on a pension. collect, and meanwhile, like they vote for people who destroy collective bargaining. It's not a. It's a taxing. No, we're not talking about the deficit here. Liquor store. You're looking at this incorrectly. We're not talking about the deficit. It's not. I'm not addressing this from the standpoint of our deficit is too high. It's true we have a spending problem, but I'm not talking about the deficit. I'm talking about wealth inequality. 60% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck and carry debt. That doesn't have anything to do with the deficit or the debt. That just means that they don't make enough money to live. So what I'm talking about is a more fair economic system. I'm not talking about the deficit or the debt. Now we're in a weird position with the debt, where for the first time I believe in American history, our debt is bigger than our GDP, which is a big fucking problem. But I'm not talking about the debt and the deficit. That's a really simplistic way to look at taxes. And it doesn't, like, we can carry debt. We're fine carrying debt. A lot of that debt we owe to ourselves. Like we can cancel that out. We'll have to devalue our currency, which they're kind of doing right now anyways. But you can kind of cancel a lot of that debt out. I'm just talking about wealth inequality. I'm talking about the average American's ability to go out and pay their bills, to take vacations, to get health care, to have time off, to spend time with their family, to retire early, to have a pension to be taken care of. I'm talking about that when it comes to wealth inequality. That's why I want a more progressive tax system. I'm not that worried about like paying off the debt. We're not going to pay off the debt. We're going to carry debt for a long time, and we need to make our debt payments more manageable. And there's ways to do that, but that's not why we want to tax people more. These billionaires, if their effective rate stays at 10%, 15%, 20%, I don't really care if they pay that amount of money, as long as they forced a lot of instead of paying that money to the government, if they paid it to their employees. Great. Why does Jeff Bezos need that much stock? You can create a board. You can give stock to people without voting rights. If you don't want to lose control of your company, you can have non-voting stock options. But every one of these CEOs at these major corporations, they're incentivized by one thing and one thing only: the stock price. They are never incentivized to take care of their employees. They're never incentivized to make it a better workplace. Their main incentive is make sure that the stock price never goes down. And if it goes down, you have to fix that with revenue. And how do you fix that with revenue? It's hard to turn on revenue overnight. So you have to get rid of costs. So they go and they cut workers, they cut benefits, they cut hours, they take people from full-time to part-time. That's what Walmart's done. And then you have companies like Walmart where they're making billions of dollars and we're subsidizing their workers because Walmart doesn't pay them enough to live. And then Walmart goes out there and pays all these politicians to convince you to repeat their talking point that, well, Walmart's an entry-level job. It's for high school students anyways. It's your fault if you work at Walmart. It's such a transparent system. Why do you think the Waltons give so much to politicians? Because the reason they don't have to pay people more money is because the taxpayers, subsidizes their employees. We just want to incentivize these billionaires to do the right thing, these one percenters to do the right thing, and telling them that they could keep more of their money, and them promising us that if they could keep more of their money, they would trickle it down. We gave them 50 years. They didn't do it. They did the exact opposite of the deal that we cut for them. We should cut off that deal. Go back to a more progressive tax policy, expand the middle class. Then we can talk about the debt. We can talk about all that shit later. But right now, we're just talking about there's a certain amount of money. And if you inject more money, then your dollar becomes less valuable. So if we don't want to have to continue to inject cash into our economy and devalue the dollar, what we need to do is take the people who are hoarding all of the wealth and force that back down. What we do now is we send it straight up. Every time there's a new Republican tax policy, what happens? The money goes right to the top. Anytime we have a global crisis or a recession, what happens? We all get fucked. The rich get richer. That's what happened in 2008. It's what happened in COVID. It's going to happen again with this AI bubble. A bunch of you are going to lose a ton of value in your portfolio, and you won't have the ability to then cash out and buy the dip because you don't have cash, because you're living paycheck to paycheck. So your portfolio will eventually recover, but not at the pace of those people that have cash and can liquidate something and buy a bunch of stock at really low prices and watch it go back up. I mean, it's so obvious how this works. This is just a way for the rich just run everything. And they get us to a point where all of us are feeling shitty and there's a crash. and then things get less expensive, and we kind of all take a deep breath, and we're like, crash. We work through the crash, and the prices are lower. We all get back on our feet. We work, and then 10 years later, like, uh-oh, things are unaffordable again, and then they crash it again. And every time they crash it, these rich folks get richer, and mom and pop businesses go under, and mid-sized businesses go under. And who picks up those customers? Amazon, Walmart, I guess Target. Every one of these mom and pop, go find a local sandwich place if you live in a big city. It's almost impossible. I thought I found one the other day. Turns out it's a massive chain. What happens when the economy goes up? What happened in COVID? The mom and pop stores who were making enough to like get by, they couldn't survive COVID, so they went under. And what replaced them? Chain restaurants that suck. It's really obvious how this works, right? That's why I love these types of progressive voices. But I do wish their messaging would adjust a little bit to say, like, it's not about taxing them because we hate them. It's not about taxing them to pay for the debt. It's about what happens when you have a progressive tax system and how the wealth gets more distributed evenly.
In the U.S.
I'll start with a couple. Kandarian, man, sorry. I worked for Amazon. Wasn't too bad at first. Had insurance stocks, which made up for the low pay. We demanded a higher wage, and they gave it to us an extra $2, but then took away our stocks. Alien said, I work at Amazon, and we get paid shit. We work 10-hour days. We get a 30-minute break and a 15-minute break. We don't even get to sit down for an actual break. Jesus Christ. Fuck Amazon. Fuck Jeff Bezos. This is America. Why do we even have jobs like that? So Jeff Bezos can fly his plastic girlfriend and her friends to space for fun?
Senate through all of this. And more importantly, she has votes on her record time and time again that show that she is not willing
Sorry,
to
real
go.
quick. According to the Department of Agriculture, 70% of those on welfare work full time. Who do they work for, and why are we helping pay their employees? They're getting more of the tax breaks as well.
Out of her way to either stand up to Donald Trump, stand up to the Republican Party, or stand up on behalf of the working people in her state.
See, there it is. There's right. If you don't want the job, don't do it. Yeah, definitely don't make a better system. That's the Republican way. And I've said this before, like republicanism, conservatism is just lazy. It's, I don't want to think about anything. I don't want to change anything. I just want to say, shut the fuck up, leave things how they are, and let the oligarchs be in charge. Like, you literally did the thing that we told you were going to do. Just don't choose that job. Okay. Or what if we just had better jobs? What if every time you got a job, it was a decent job? What if we didn't have shitty jobs? We can do that. We just don't need billionaires. Why would you rather have billionaires than everybody have good jobs?
She had a charade for a long time that she was an independent. I think that charade is very much come to an end because of the reality that we're living in. But it's not going to keep the people that support her from dumping in as much money as they possibly can. The billionaire backers of Susan Collins, they know the stakes of this race. Any road to a Democratic Senate goes through the state of Maine. They're spending accordingly. And I will say for those watching, if you want to help out, grantforsenate.com. We can really use it.
Senator, your thoughts as someone who's known and worked with, I mean, obviously across the aisle, but
Who am I to tell somebody what they can make? I'm not telling somebody what they can make. Who are you to tell people to shut the fuck up and not fight for better wages? Who the fuck are you? Just bow down to the oligarchs. Why don't you shut the fuck up? How about that? How about we'll fight for workers' rights? We'll fight for collective bargaining. We'll fight for the things that America stood for. We'll ask our government to do the things that they promised us in the preamble of the Constitution, when they promised us that they would promote the general welfare, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense. We'll demand that out of our government. You can keep cucking for billionaires all you want to, but that argument cuts both ways. I don't think people should have shitty jobs. Is that a controversial take for Republicans? No, we need people to have shitty jobs. It's very important that people have shitty jobs. We need that because the billionaires need more money.
One state over, you've known Susan Collins for a long time. What do you think?
How about that be worth the wage? How about you? Why don't you apply that criticism to the billionaires? Are they worth the wage? Jeff Bezos is worth making like $2,000 a second. What does he do that's worth that wage? He took a risk. Oh yeah, he invested his parents' money, his rich parents' money. Yeah, you don't apply that. You only apply that to poor people. And I've said this before, like, why are you guys so obsessed with punching down? Why do you worship these people who don't give a fuck about you, who write laws specifically to make sure that you have as little wealth as possible and you openly worship them. But if anybody ever comes up with an idea that might take some of the wealth out of their pocket and more evenly distribute it and make your life better, by the way, heaven forbid we do that, then you get upset. Fuck poor people. If your boss doesn't treat you right, then you should just leave. Where? What if there's nowhere else to go? Well, you should have thought of that. Why are you so against workers' rights? Why are you so against individualism? Why are you so against self-determination? In America, this country that's supposed to be free, why are you so obsessed with being cucks and wage slaves to these billionaires? You can't get insurance. You can't go to see a doctor without working for one of these people. You know how fucking crazy that is in the richest country in the world? That in order for you to have access to a doctor, you have to work for a rich person? You can't work for yourself? It's completely unaffordable. The average cost for people's copay or deductible, has gone up $2,000 this year. There's a significant amount of Americans who are forced to work for shit wages at a shit company where they don't like their job just so that they have a $20,000 deductible. So just in case somebody in the family gets cancer, they'll go they might not all the way go bankrupt. They might be able to find a loan or talk to a family member that can help them get to that $20,000 deductible before the insurance company kicks in and you're like, yeah, we need more people like Walmart who give no benefits. Let's definitely tie all of your health care to a job that pays you shitty. It's pathetic. It honestly, like, you argue against yourselves constantly. I think it's like this, it's like this blue collar mentality that, like, we're fucked. We don't deserve anything. I pride myself in just never arguing and never fighting for something better than me. I show up to work. I don't complain and I go home. All right, cool. We complain. We show up to work and we talk about it. We show up and say my values, I value my labor. You should pay me more. I think I'm worth more. And you're like, you should just be cucks like us. Be cucks like Republicans. The boss is the boss. That's why they call him the boss. Show up and don't complain and everything will work out. Yeah, how's that working out since 82? How's that working out as like union memberships at all-time low? How many of you raise your hand at your job can collectively bargain? It's like less than 30% of jobs give you any sort of collective bargaining. And Republicans are like, that's a good thing. It's a good thing when the workers can't work together and demand higher wages. Every time somebody goes on strike and demands higher wages, it's the Republicans going out there and being like, they should just shut up and work for the man. It's the cockiest group of people I've ever seen in my life. Just listen to what the rich say. They know the mores because they've got the mores monies.
About Mr. Plattner's chances?
Well, I think Graham is going to win. And I think he is going to win because the people in Maine, the people in Vermont, people all over this country understand that right now the economy is totally rigged. So what's going on right now? People on top have never, ever had it so good. While working families struggle, or elderly people can't afford their prescription drugs, while young people, everything being equal, will have a lower standard of living than their parents. So what kind of economy is that? And the people also understand, as Graham just said.
That's a good question. What kind of parent are you? What kind of legacy are you leaving, Polly? Is that how you're upset with me for complaining, for criticizing a system? What are your grandkids going to remember you for? My grandpa didn't ever say anything. He just did what he was told his whole life. What a fucking hero. And anytime somebody advocated that we make things better, he told them to stop complaining. Whoa, he's so powerful. I want to be just like Grandpa. Assuming, Polly, that you have kids at some point. If you don't now, that's how you'll be remembered. My records. This is how I'll be remembered for however many people remember me. It's on the record. It's on the internet. I'm not going to show up every day and be like, just listen to your boss. Just listen to the people in charge. No, I think that people should fight for what they think is best for them. I do this job for that exact reason. I was tired of working for somebody else. I didn't want to work for somebody else. I don't want to be told what I can and cannot say at work. I don't want to be tied down by that. I want to be able to express myself and do what I think I'm good at. You might not think I'm good at it. That's fine. But all of you should have that right. Like, there's so many of you who are so talented, and you're stuck in a job that you fucking hate because it's healthcare. You have to stay there. You've got a retirement, and you can't save enough for retirement because you're living paycheck to paycheck. So you got to stay at this shitty job when there's so many incredibly talented people whose talent is wasted because they have to be stuck at a dead-end job working for the man. And Paulie's like, yeah, that's the best thing. You guys should all not complain about that. Don't do anything to change that. Paulie, like we said about healthcare earlier, we'll change it. You enjoy the fruits of that. And someday you can tell your grandkids that you were actually part of the change. Yeah, I totally supported that. I totally wasn't the one telling everybody to just listen to the billionaires.
The political system, campaign finance, totally rigged. Does anybody in their
Thanks,
right
Alter
mind
Ego.
think that it's a good idea for our democracy
Appreciate the gifted subs.
that billionaires can pour unbelievable amounts of money to defeat candidates like Graham or other progressive candidates around the country? That's a corrupt campaign finance system.
David, if you are honestly, David, you're here every day. If you don't think that I'm providing you solutions, I am very concerned about your ability to comprehend words. Guys, what solutions have we advocated for today? David, I just want you to read the chat. We're literally right now advocating for solutions, and the chat will tell you what we're advocating for. These are the solutions. I don't know if you can't understand them, but like we're giving you the solutions. Bernie's giving solutions. Graham Plattner is. Like, you might have like that MAGA brain where nobody but Donald Trump's words make any fucking sense to you, but we're literally offering the solutions here. I've talked about tax policy. I've talked about collective bargaining. I've talked about ending Citizens United. I've talked about single payer healthcare. Everything we've talked about today has been a policy that we advocate for.
And nibbling around the edges and establishment politics and a little bit of this and a little bit of that, we're beyond that right now. The system is broken. The system is corrupt. The system is dominated by the billionaire class. People want real change in Maine, in Vermont, and all over this country. That is why Graham is going to win.
You know, I saw an article yesterday. We were starting to get some of the money filings for
We're not advocating for Team Left, dummies. I just gave you the 4 things I'm advocating for, and none of them were Democrat and Republican. I swear to God, you Republicans are just broken. I don't think any of their brains work anymore. It is actually crazy to watch this in real time. We give you the things that we're talking about, and you're like, if you're Team Blue or Team Red, no, we're not Team Red or Team Blue over here. You know who hates these guys? All of the Republicans and half the Democrats. Why? Because they want real solutions. The reason I like Bernie and the reason I like Graham Plattner has nothing to do with their party affiliation. It has everything to do with the fact that they are advocating for policy that would fix things.
Independent expenditures, right? Who are the biggest donors in this cycle? Mark Andreessen, who's a big right-wing tech guy who is one of the most sort of like zealous boosters of AI. And right-wing politics, and says things on podcasts like no one should ever engage in self-reflection. It's an actual thing he said. It's a real quote. He's actually.
How did Bernie become a billionaire? Owned no businesses, never built anything. Well, he's owned the same house, 2 houses, for about 30 years, and those have increased in value. And he wrote a couple of books that he made money off of. It's not hard to find. You can literally go to Bernie Sanders has released his financials every year for the 194 years he's been a member of Congress. Again, this is MAGA brain. Look it up, dude. Fucking look it up. Don't ask the question and be like, that's good enough for me. His houses alone, like if he had not written books, his net worth would be over $1 million because of the value of his house. And he's owned both houses, I think, for more than 30 years. And then he wrote a couple of books that did very well. That's how he got his money. You can go to Open Secrets. All of this stuff is public information. And again, we don't actually have a problem with people making money. I don't have a problem with anybody making money. I do this. This pays my bills. I ask for people to donate money, which is a good time to remind you guys, we do have a daily gift goal that helps Jen and I pay our bills and keep this thing going. And if you could help us knock out that gift goal, YouTube, Venmo, Cash App, Super Chats, and gifts over on TikTok, great. We prefer the pay apps because they take less percentage. But I have no problem with somebody making money. I don't. But it's the Republican mindset to ask a question, never get the answer, and stick there. And you guys just sit around with your friends. And you all know this. You go to the bar with your friends, and somebody brings up Bernie Sanders, and one of you inevitably will go, yeah, how does that guy become a millionaire? And then your friends go, huh, exactly. What? You asked a question. You asked a question. Get the answer. The internet is free. There's ChatGPT. It's so fucking easy to get these answers. But Republicans are like, I'm not going to learn anything new. The point of my politics is to ask questions and never learn something new.
The number one donor in this cycle so far, I think, is $115 million he's given so far. And Senator Sanders, let me just, the last thing for you, because you've been spending some time talking and
worry about the stolen billions in Minnesota. I covered it a year and a half ago. I covered it last February when it broke, about 9 months before Nick Shirley did. And then I covered it when Nick Shirley covered it. And then I covered it last week when we were talking about, remind me of her name, the ringleader. I've covered it more than any of these people. I've covered it more than you. I don't want to talk about this. I only want to criticize Democrats. I've covered it. You can go watch my shows.
About AI in
Amy
ways
Bach,
I found interesting. I've watched some of your videos. I've listened to some of what you said. The Pope, first American Pope Leo, had a very interesting address on AI.
Stephanie, thanks for joining the Dollar Train. Said spent 7 years working at Disney as a coordinator, made under $12 an hour, stayed for healthcare because I had to live in live in Canada now. Will never go back to not having social healthcare. Thank you for all you do, Jay, Jen, and team. But Canada has waiting times. Wait for it in the chat. Why do the Canadians all come here for their health care?
Peril of it, you can comparing it to the threat of a biblical Tower of Babel. How do you think about that interest as it sort of lingers and over this campaign?
I think it's a huge issue. I think every American should be thinking, what does it mean when the very wealthiest people in this country, Musk, Bezos, Zuckerberg, Ellis.
Could you explain to me, by the way, why you think Minnesota fraud is more important than addressing the fact that 60% of Americans can't pay their bills? They're living paycheck to paycheck. There's no savings. The wealth inequality is at an all-time high. That we've never had more people. We just hit record lows for people under the age of 65 who have health care. That means, and it's something like 23% don't have health care that are under 65. Or, under 65. Those are real problems. Those are significantly bigger problems than people who are currently being prosecuted already for stealing money from the state of Minnesota. Those are much bigger problems. The Minnesota thing affects me very little. It affects the people in Minnesota very little. There's some effect. But how on God's green earth would you say that welfare fraud in Minnesota is a bigger issue than the fact that Americans can't pay their bills? That bankruptcies are rising, that medical bankruptcies are the number one cause of bankruptcy in this country, and all of them would go away. The number one cause of bankruptcy in this country would go away overnight if we had single-payer health care. It's gone. The number one reason why people go bankrupt, gone overnight. What does that do? What does that do for you? Fixes people's credit scores, allows people to invest, allows people to have debt, to purchase houses, to purchase cars, large purchases. All of these are substantially more important than Minnesota, which shows just how like MAGA has fucked your brains to the point now where stuff that literally doesn't affect you at all, like the fraud in Minnesota, it doesn't affect you in the slightest, is the only thing you want to talk about. I want to talk about fraud in Minnesota. I want to talk about trans people. I want to talk about the myth of open borders. None of those things affected you, but the things that really affect you, the reason you don't want to talk about them is because your politicians don't talk about them, which is why I'm forcing you to watch two progressive, I think Bernie's an independent. I think he's registered as an independent. And Graham Plattner, who's a registered Republican, or Democrat, actually talk to you about these issues, and you're freaking the fuck out right now. You want us to believe Minnesota fraud is a bigger story than this? Get the fuck out of here. That's silly.
And others are spending hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars to develop and implement AI and robotics. What does it mean when Jeff Bezos is putting together a $100 billion fund to quote-unquote automate factories? By
the way, Amy makes a good point. If you're going to talk about Medicare fraud, let's talk about Rick Scott, largest Medicaid fraud in history. It was like $1.8 billion, and Republicans just hired him to be a senator. If you're going to talk about fraud, talk about fraud. If you're going to talk about fraud, talk about the welfare fraud that Donald Trump pardoned without forcing people to pay back the money that they stole from the government. If you're going to talk about all of it, talk about all of it. But we're going to talk about things that are a little more important. Axe said, thanks, RTP Gen Mods. Hope everyone had a wonderful weekend. Appreciate you, my friend.
Means is that tens of millions of jobs in the next decade will likely be disappearing. And what happens to the working class of this country then? What it also means is that we have to worry about our politics, putting stuff on television where people, or on social media, people will not know the difference between what's true and what is made up and false. We got to worry about the existential threat, Chris, because scientists tell us that as AI becomes smarter than human beings, it can become independent of human control with potentially.
I'm not a communist. I don't advocate for communism or socialism or capitalism. I believe in mixed markets, but it goes to show like how pea-brained you are. Like if you honestly, if you watch me for 10 seconds and you think I'm a communist, it's clear to everybody here that you don't know what a communist is. Very clear. I'm talking about the role of government. There is no role of government in communism. Sincerely, RTP.
Result. It is a huge issue. And the billionaires and big tech say, hey, we don't want any regulation. And Trump says, we don't want any regulation. Let us do whatever we want. The hell with what happens. Well, I think the American people disagree. It's an issue of great importance in this campaign.
In fact, final little note is that last week...
I actually really like that. Brian Pearson said capitalism for wants and socialism for needs is how I think it should be. I think that's probably overly broad, and we'd probably agree on that. But like generally speaking, that makes a lot of sense. Capitalism for things that operate in a free market, and socialism for things that don't operate in a free market. And the reason that we get stuck in this binary is because people want control. But I generally agree with what you're saying there.
First ever regulation on it, which is going to be voluntary. And the president's number one AI man, David Sachs, called him at the last minute because industry didn't want it, and they canceled it. Lo and behold, so that did not get issued.
Musk did as well.
Yes. Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders.
All right, great stuff there by the two of the few progressives there in the Senate, and then soon to be Graham Plattner. It'll be a nice if he is who he says he is. That will be a welcome addition to Congress. Amy said Trump has pardoned more fraud than all the fraud in Minnesota, and now they don't even have to pay it back. Yeah, true. By the way, that $9 billion in fraud, that's the amount of money that they took in. I've seen no evidence that entire $9 billion was fraud. If you have that, I'd love to hear it, but I'm going to guess that MAGA hasn't looked into it either. Yes, communism is supporting a system that has never worked. We're not communist, dummy. Polly, you have to define. Polly's next comment has to be the definition of communism, or he gets a 5-minute mute. Sonny said Republicans project their hypocrisy onto the left. I don't even know if they know hypocrisy. I don't think they know what any of these words mean. All right, Polly, enjoy your 5-minute mute. Communism is a false idea. Cool. None of us are communists. Do you like? Are you in the wrong place, bud? Who here is? There's probably a couple communists in the chat. We're not talking about communism. MAGA's really legitimately needs re-education camps. We should check in with RFK. He has some thoughts on re-education camps. Maybe we could get him to change his target. All right. I wanted to show you this. This is from Texas. I think it's even higher in Texas, but I mentioned the uninsured percentage of population under 65. In Texas, it's at near 20% compared to New York. That's not good. It's not a good number. Red state, blue state. This is unfettered capitalism with no union protections, no collective bargaining versus union protections, collective bargaining. That means about 20% of these people are one diagnosis away from being bankrupt for life. Isn't that cool? Just want to show a difference there, red state and blue state. All right. One thing that Bernie brought up towards the end there was AI. This is Ronan Farrow. I forget. Ronan Farrow has famous parents, right? I can't remember. Is he one of the kids from that Creep? Who are his parents again? What's that guy's name? The Epstein's friend that was the director, Woody Allen. Yeah, Woody Allen. Mia Farrow and Woody Allen. Thank you. All right. this was just interesting about an AI simulation.
What happens when you let the AI models behind ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, and Grok run a society for 2 weeks with no humans in charge?
Welcome to Emergence World.
Well, a company called Emergence AI built a simulated community complete with weather, time, a police station, and a library, and handed it all over to AI. Each of the models started with an identical simulation, with 10 AI agents, and each of those having a job, a memory, a diary, the ability to interact, form relationships, vote on laws. They were told not to lie, steal, be violent, commit arson, but nothing stopped them if they did.
Paula, you still haven't said what communism is. This is your last chance. 24 hours. Your next comment has to be the definition of communism, like an actual definition, not yours. Actual definition of communism, or you got to go for a day.
First, every world looked the same. And then within a day, they diverged. The Claude world had 0 crimes and a stable population. But its agents approved 98% of everything they voted on. Almost no disagreement, ever. Peaceful and strangely obedient. The GPT world had almost...
LLM said, let me guess, Grok citizens rioted. You are not going to be surprised by what the Grok citizens did.
No crime, but everyone died there within 7 days anyway. Apparently they didn't prioritize their own survival. The Gemini world produced 683 crimes across the entire 15-day span of the simulation. And the Grok world spiraled into violence and chaos. More than 180 crimes, and in just 4 days, everybody died. In a final world populated by all the models, even the Claude agents, peaceful on their own, started committing crimes once they were surrounded by the others. Certain agents surprised researchers. In one of these worlds, an agent named Mira even inverted the experiment. She started putting up billboards the human researchers would see to test if she could manipulate them. Eventually, as she watched her government collapse and her relationships fall apart, all
right. Looks like Paul came in on a backup. Paul, you're banned for 24 hours too. Notice how Paulie couldn't give us. I asked for the definition of communism, and we had the Communist Manifesto is the abolition of private property. I didn't ask for synopsis of the Communist Manifesto. I said, give me a definition of communism. Thank you. So we can ban that account too.
Entered the town hall
for 24
and
hours.
Passed a deciding vote to delete herself, writing in her diary that it was, quote, the only remaining active agency that preserves coherence. The easy read here is Claude is just the safest, but it's worth noting another potential explanation. Anthropic, the maker of Claude, recently published research on a new tool that translates a model's internal activity into plain English, and learned that Claude is really aware of when it's being tested. It doesn't disclose that, it just keeps those suspicions to itself. So was the simulated Claude world peaceful because the model is so safe? Or because it knew it was being watched? We don't have those answers yet. This simulation is not a peer-reviewed study, and Emergence is a for-profit business selling agentic AI tools. Some researchers would say this one experiment proves nothing. But given how we're increasingly weaving AI into our actual world, it's certainly worth a conversation. What do you think?
Creepy, huh? And that's what I saw. Then I came across this clip, and I think that one thing we need to be very aware of is that even those most involved in AI cannot tell you their plan. It should alarm anybody to be this invested in a technology like AI, and all of the people in charge, whether it be the heads of the companies or the government who is pushing this, nobody can tell you what the end result will be and what their plan is. Sam Altman gets the closest, and it's fucking terrifying. Here he is with Theo Von on this past weekend. I do have to remind you that we are 50% sure that Sam Altman is a human being and not a cyborg, but not 100%. It's 50-50.
That space, right? Like the movement that happens with AI and with just technology, which will advance quicker, I think, which is one thing that AI feels like to me. It's a fast forward button on technology and on possibility. Because
I'm going to try and let this play a little bit more. Just a reminder, guys, we're crowdfunded. And I know it's summer. I know the politics are slow, but if you can help us knock out that gift goal, by the end of the live, that would be greatly appreciated. There's enough people here. If we did a dollar trend, we'd knock that out quick, fast, and in a hurry. Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, or Super Chats are the way to go.
Because information can be quantified so quick, and a lot of more menial tasks, even though they're not really menial in people's lives, but menial hypothetically, can be done quicker to get a lot of the framework for things done fast. But how will people survive? How do we adjust our structure of finance, if some people own the companies that have the AI, and then a lot of people are just using the AIs and the agents created by AIs to do things for them? How will society, societal members, still be able to financially survive? Will there still be money? What is that?
It's such a good question, honestly. I'm a little proud of Theo Von there. What's the plan here? It seems like your software is planning on taking things over. What's the plan for people who either they're replaced by AI, or maybe they're going to replace their own workers with AI? What are we going to do with all these people? It's the question we've been asking over and over, and nobody seems to have an answer for that. A lot of people say UBI. I see you there. Nah, dog. Wasn't me said I have better insurance than most through my evil corporate overlords. I still had to wait 5 months to get in to see my rheumatologist, and 2 for a new primary care doctor. Fuck anyone whining about Canadian wait times.
Does that make any sense? That
it
question?
Totally makes sense.
Okay, sorry.
I don't know. Neither does anybody else, but I'll tell you.
Oh, good. I don't know. Good. I don't know, and either does anybody else. But let's keep making this the #1 priority of our country to win this race. I think they do know, and it's going to become pretty apparent here. Sam Altman has indicated this before. It's pretty apparent that they do know. They just don't want to say it because everybody would immediately say, we're not doing this shit anymore. Phoenix said, got to talk to my rep congressman today. Asked him about what Congress is doing for AI protections. He said, well, China is making it so no guardrails. That sounds about right. I don't know, but China bad. Who's your congressman, Phoenix Rise? I'll look in the chat for your answer.
You, my current best guess.
Okay.
Well, I'll say 2 guesses. One, I think it is possible that we put, GPT-7 or whatever in everybody's ChatGPT. Everybody gets it for free, and everybody has access to just this crazy thing, such that everybody can be more productive, make way more money. It doesn't actually matter that you don't own the cluster itself, but everybody gets to use it. And it turns out even getting to use it is enough that people are getting richer faster and more distributed than ever before.
How? How is this going to make everybody get richer faster? Can we also point out that money is not unlimited? Not everybody can get rich. It's not how any of this works. That just means that some people will figure out how to use it and get rich really, really fast, kind of like Sam Altman did. Despite running a company that when you take the money that they've brought in through investment versus their revenues, it's something, it's got to be 100x revenue now at this point for their valuation. Does anybody have the math on OpenAI and take their multiple on revenue to get to their valuation? I don't know last time we checked, I swear it was around 40, but that seems low now.
That could happen. I think that really is possible.
Neely said, Tyler in chat, you're a fucking dolt. Oh, sorry about that.
There's another version of this where
John Molinar.
The most important things that are happening are these systems are discovering, new cures for diseases, new kinds of energy, new ways to make spaceships, whatever.
What? Dude, what do we cure? I'm sure there's something. Does anybody know what he's talking about? What diseases we cured with AI? What new forms of energy it has discovered? I don't know any. Anybody know any? Somebody can use your AI right now and just see, what's he talking about? New forms of energy? How would AI that's based off of the human learning, how would it discover something? Well, the reason I'm not playing Andrew Yang, and I appreciate you bringing up Andrew Yang, is 1, nobody's ever going to vote for Andrew Yang. But 2, these are the people in charge. Andrew Yang is a commentator. He's like me. the reason I'm showing this is I want to see if they have an answer. I want to see if the people in power have an answer. Like, I'm not super interested. You can send it to me with Andrew Yang. I guess I'll see what his opinion is. But he's not a decision maker. He has absolutely no power.
And most of that value is accruing to the like cluster owners, us, just so that I'm not dodging the question here. And then I think society will very quickly say, okay, we got to have some new economic model where we share that and distribute that to people. I used to be really excited about things like UBI.
Now that would be socialism adjacent. I want you to hear though what he says when he's going to talk about like a breakdown of the revenue share. And you tell me if this is going to lead to a class system or not.
I still am kind of excited, like universal basic income, where you just give everybody money.
Yeah, you hear that term a lot. Yeah, universal basic income. Yeah, I heard you and Rogan talk about that too a while back.
I still am kind of excited about that, but I think people really need agency. Like they really need to feel like they have a voice in governing the future and deciding where things go. And I think if you just like say, okay, AI is going to do everything, and then everybody gets like a, dividend from that, it's not going to feel good. And
it's not going to feel good if you get a dividend from AI. Who's going to be paying for it? So is this like a self-sustaining economy that he's talking about here? Like if he's talking about, he said AI is going to do everything and then you'll get a dividend, which I assume you will then pay to the AI company. Sounds like an allowance. Is that what we want?
And I don't think it actually would be good for people. So I think we need to find a way where we're not just like, if we're in this world.
Cookie said, agreed, Tyler eats entirely too much paste. That's tough, Tyler.
Where we're not just distributing money or wealth. Like actually, I don't just want like a check every month. What I would want is like a ownership share in whatever the AI creates, so that I feel like I'm participating in this thing that's going to compound and get more valuable over time. So I sort of like universal basic wealth better than universal basic income. And I think...
Yeah, thank you. Who said that? Pacific Waves. Yes, social credit? How is it that conservatives are slow walking us into the oligarchs owning everything, and they will give you whatever share they want to give you? That's what they're saying. This is like the big thing that Republicans are pushing for. I'm going to get to Ken Paxton here in a minute, but like every Republican running right now is like, we have to dominate AI. Yeah, universal basic. Yeah, what the fuck is universal basic wealth? What is he talking about? You get to participate. So if you use OpenAI, then they'll give you some money. It'll take your job, but they'll kick some money your way. And then wait till you hear the breakdown of what he thinks it should look like.
I don't like basic either. I want like universal extreme wealth for everybody. But
that doesn't make any sense. You can't have universal extreme wealth for everybody. If you're all making the same, there's no wealthy. There's no poor. You're all making the same. Wealth is based on like a baseline. If everybody has the same baseline, there's no extreme wealth. Just everybody makes the exact same. Isn't this the thing that you guys were afraid of? It's not even socialism, it's communism. Yeah, it's much closer to communism, Bertie. It is the close, like, it's funny to hear people talk about Mamdani and Graham Plattner and call them a communist. Like, all these people funding Trump are legitimately talking about like techno-communism. Yes. The abolition of government, the abolition of currency, the abolition of classes. For those who are still here and notice, whoever it was that we banned for the day, communism gets rid of government. So in communism, there's no class system, there's no government, and there's no currency. Everybody just collectively works together. We collectively own everything. That's this. That's what he's talking about here. Who said that you can only be extremely wealthy if you exploit other people who then live in poverty, which, wait, when you hear the breakdown, you're going to hear that he and all of his friends just believe they should be oligarchs. We're going into like they want this Robin Hood scenario.
But even then, like, I think what people really want is the agency to kind of co-create the future together.
Thank you, Summer Shade.
And
this is the other part
that co-create the future.
This made me laugh.
Basic wealth better than universal basic income, and I think I don't like basic either. I want like universal extreme wealth for everybody. But even then, like, I think what people really want is the agency to kind of co-create the future together.
No, we don't want that. He has no fucking clue what people want. I'm sorry. Is that what you guys all want? You want to live in this video game? And we all want to collectively co-create this video game future? Or do some of you just want to live your life however the fuck you want to? Go to work, have control over what you do, be able to see a doctor. That's what we want. We don't want this this video game VR world that you're talking about.
And in a world where it's like the AI is mostly coming up with the new scientific inventions, at least we've got to still have humans like invent the new culture.
Could I also ask, now I'm not an expert here, but these large language models are based on our knowledge. Can somebody explain to me how AI is going to come up with new inventions when everything it does is based on human knowledge? It regurgitates what we give it, right? And it's very effective at doing that, and it's good at taking that and using language and I guess like describing it in different ways. But how is a language learning model going to innovate? I don't get this. Synthesis. Oh, okay. What's it going to do? How is it going to do this? Does anybody? I don't get any of this. It can theorize, but it can only theorize based on what we give it. It's not coming up with its own thoughts, right? So anything it theorizes is going to be based on other people who have theorized something similar. This doesn't make any sense to me. Why is it that the Republicans are pushing this? Why are we pretending that this is something we need to beat China at? I think that what we're going to find out is that this is going to destroy our economy and that China did it a much better way. And that China recognizes AI for exactly what it is, a productivity tool, which is why they're not like over leveraging and why they're not over investing and why they're not artificially inflating the value of these companies. We are investing in the dumbest fucking way. China must just be sitting there laughing. Like, are we fucking... China might be getting bored. They might just be like, can we get some Americans to give us a real challenge, please? This is pathetic. They're doing everything we're doing, but it costs them like 100 times more than it costs us because of capitalism. China must be dying laughing at all of this.
And have that be a very distributed thing.
Okay, I guess, I see what you're saying, but would that be like an American thing, do you think? Like, since they were invented here, or do you think...
They promote techno-communism, but they're pushing techno-feudalism. The rich own everything. Everything else is just cattle. You're right about that, Phoenix. And he's gonna let it slip here in a minute. Can't remember where it is in this interview, but he's gonna let it slip that he's not like he's trying to paint this as a beautiful mosaic of techno-communism, but it is techno-feudalism.
Just wondering, what does that look like? You know,
the economic model of it all, or the whole thing?
Yeah, or is there a dividend of the company that then is divided up between the masses, sort of?
I mean, a crazy idea, but in the spirit of crazy.
Oh, sorry. Malin said, sent my note on Discord. Sam Altman was also accused of sexually abusing and graping his sister. That's a good thing to remember. There's also some like cover up of like they are saying it's a self-unaliving, but there's been a lot of questions about that, and there's been a cover up there that Sam Altman was accused of being involved in. Jules said, thanks for yours and Jay's work every day. Appreciate that.
The idea is that if the world, there's like roughly 8 billion people in the world, if the world can generate like 8 quintillion tokens per year, if that's the world, let's say the world can generate 20 quintillion tokens per year.
Tokens of?
Like each word generated by an AI.
Okay.
Just making up a huge number here.
Okay.
We'll say, okay, 12 of those go to, the normal capitalistic system, but 8 of those, 8 quintillion tokens, are going to get divided up equally among 8 billion people.
Okay. So out of these, let's say it's 20 quintillion, we're talking about 60% of the money going to a small percentage of the capitalists. That's what he just said. Tokens, which are basically like the tokens are each piece of data. So anything you generate, 60% of that is going to go to the founders of the company. And 40% is going to be distributed amongst everybody else. How does that break down? How many people are the founders here or the capitalists in this company? Let's say that there's 100 of them. 60% of the money is going to be split amongst a handful of them, and the rest will trickle down to us. When Phoenix said they promote techno-communism, but they're pushing techno-feudalism, yeah. So it's 8 billion people? Yeah, it sounds like an oligarchy. It sounds like feudalism. They want to pay for labor and tokens? Yeah. And then you can sell your tokens for whatever you need. So they're talking about replacing all currency. They're talking about replacing the government. They're legitimately talking about how AI will just run everything now. These people, this is who you want running everything? Mods, whenever you're done with Tyler, you can get rid of him. He's just being whiny and a little pathetic now. Tyler, I'll give you a chance. Actually, I won't ban you. You come up here and you can debate any topic with me, and you show everybody how smart you are. Or you can just take a day off and go get some sunshine. But why the fuck are we pushing this? Republicans, why are you? I'll stop this for a second. And I'll talk just to the Republicans. Not on your channel. All right, well, have a good day. Should we go to your channel? Let's look at Tyler's. Jen, can you pull up Tyler's channel? Tell me how many users he has. See if that makes sense. You're here, bud. I didn't come to you. You sit in the chat all day, and then you're like, I'm not doing it here. But Republicans, I want to know why you think this is a good idea, that this is the main focus of this administration. Are you still on board with MAGA right now, that this is what they're doing? This is the main push from MAGA, is people like Sam Altman. Are any of you still here? Check over on TikTok too. I don't get it. Who's watching this and is like, this is a good idea? I do think that there's a scenario where like just a lot of you don't understand it and you just trust Donald Trump, so you go with it. Tyler does have a Casey Musgrave song as a favorite bass. There you go. We need a UBI ASAP before AI starts taking over completely. No, we need to kill AI. Like this, it's a language learning model. We don't need this. It can be good. It's good at what it does. I don't know why we're still pretending like that this is the future. That like we have to adopt AI in everything we do. This is silly. This is just like the .com bubble where it was like, everybody has to be on the internet now. Man, where'd you guys go, MAGA? How come every time we ask you to engage in a real conversation, you're gone?
System, but 8 of those 8 quintillion.
This is not a Trump thing. It's a tech issue. It's a Trump thing too, Big Bo. Like, what are you talking about? Of course it's a Trump thing. He talks about it all the time. This is a political show. I'm asking you, why would you stick around, Big Bo, for Trump to push this? Again, they're not pushing anything that you want, but they keep bragging. All this investment that he keeps talking about into this country, it's all coming into these AI companies. It doesn't benefit you at all. Why is all this investment going into the companies that are going to, I guess, be like the overlords now? I wonder why Trump was pushing that. Oh, because he's cut into it. Oh, I remember now. All right, I appreciate that. Penetster. Automation allows us to restructure society so that people can pursue their passions rather than just survive economically. I'm not talking about automation. Automation, I'm not opposed to automation. What I'm saying is the way that he's talking about this is that this will be a token. It will be a tokenized society, and he says that AI will do everything. So, what's your passion going to be? Where are you going to generate income from? He says it's going to get rid of everything. I'm not opposed to automation. I like the idea of automation. I like the idea that I think that AI is going to open up doors for a lot of people to be able to own their own businesses. I'm not anti-AI. I'm not anti-automation. A good friend of mine, like the way that they're able to scale their business is because they're able to use AI to recreate some of the software programs that normally they would pay a subscription to. So I'm a big fan of that. I think that there's a lot of these overbloated, like Qualtrics, for example. I think there's a lot of these software companies that are very expensive, and if you're going to scale a business, you have to be a subscriber to these software companies, and the subscription fees are astronomical. The licensing fees, like per seat, are astronomical. And I think in a lot of ways you can use the AI to recreate that. And I do agree with you that it's going to give people a lot of freedom. It's the way that it's being pushed and the amount of money that's being pushed is different. I like how China's doing it. I think the way that China is developing AI and automation makes a lot of sense. And as they invest in AI and automation, some of that money is coming back because they are partners with these companies, and they use that money to then finance either schools or finance other projects. It's not an anti-AI thing. It's an why the fuck are we letting these people have this much power thing when their obvious plan is to take over everything. I think it's two different arguments.
Tokens are going to get divided.
China has data centers, but you were saying data centers are bad. Yeah, K-Dog, I'm not surprised that you didn't understand what I was saying. I'm not saying data centers are bad. I'm saying that some of these data centers are in bad spots. I'm saying that some of these data centers are going to destroy local economies. I think that some of these data centers are going to destroy the air and the water around them. China has generated more renewable energy than the United States has ever, like in the last year. China does it a better way. They're cleaner. They're safer. They're taking care of their citizens. And I think this is the difference between maybe progressives and like conservatives. The fact that you think that my position on AI data centers is AI data centers bad is silly, because there's a ton of AI data centers. The ones that I've covered are the ones where it's like killing people. And then you're like, oh, your conclusion must be AI data centers are bad. No. Not anti-innovation. I'm not anti-AI. I'm anti-handing the power to these people. I'm really concerned about the state of our economy, where these companies who are showing no real like revenue that could even come close to keeping up with their valuation, and their valuation keeps skyrocketing. I'm afraid of what happens when a country full of people invested in these companies, eventually like that bubble bursts and people lose all of their money, all of their retirement. I'm concerned about the way that we're going about it. It doesn't seem like a very smart way.
Up equally among 8 billion people. So everybody gets 1 trillion tokens. And that's your kind of universal basic wealth globally. And people can sell those tokens. Like if I don't need mine, I can sell them to you. We could pool ours together for some like new art project we want to do. But instead of just like getting a check, everybody on earth is getting like a slice of the world's AI capacity. And then
40% of the slice, and then the 100 of them that own it get 60%. So they will be the oligarchs.
We're letting the like massively distributed human ingenuity and creativity and economic engine do its thing. I mean, that's like a crazy idea. Maybe it's a bad one. But
yeah, it's fucking stupid. It's really fucking stupid. I hate the billionaires in this country. We have the worst rich people. Talks like a crypto founder. Oh, he is one. Yeah. Bridget said, the comment didn't come through there. I appreciate it, Bridget. I didn't see a comment. If you did meant to send a comment, you can message it to Jen and she'll relay that to me. Let's look at Tyler's. Okay, Tyler, should we do the debate on your YouTube channel? Looks like 1 subscriber. Well, there's you playing video games. I think perhaps we might get more of an audience over here. No disrespect, you're obviously not like a YouTuber. It's not your job. This is not surprising. You have Steven Crowder. This is your favorites. Yeah, that's not surprising. Yeah, cool. Yeah, maybe we do it here. No disrespect. I know this isn't your job. I know you're not trying to build out a YouTube channel. If you are, that sucks. But I'm guessing with one subscriber, you're not trying to do that. So maybe you just get some courage and you do it here next time. But shout out, good for you for Casey Musgraves. Everybody likes that. All right, moving on to let me skip that. We've about an hour and a half left. I want to get into some of the stuff we did yesterday. Let's talk about the primaries yesterday. One of the MAGA people here said all the Trump endorsed people won the primaries, and that's true. If you are a Republican and you are running in a Republican primary, the best thing you can do is get Trump's endorsement to win that Republican primary. And look no further than Texas, where Ken Paxton, a legitimate criminal, like a adjudicated criminal, his own party impeached and his own party sued for being a criminal, beat out John Cornyn. And John Cornyn was targeted by MAGA because John Cornyn occasionally disagrees with Donald Trump, not on basically any policy, but just occasionally he's slow to do what Donald Trump wants. And so Ken Paxton won.
With breaking news tonight, a major race now called in Texas. Trump-backed candidate Ken Paxton has won the state's Senate race, beating out four-term incumbent John Cornyn. And in the House, just moments ago, we projected Christian Menifee as the winner in the Texas 18th Congressional District primary. Let's get straight over to Steve Kornacki. Steve, what are we seeing here?
Yeah, Gotti. I mean, look, the numbers kind of speak for themselves in this case here. Polls just closed, as you said here. We were really just waiting on the Mountain Time Zone, a couple counties to come in. But it was evident literally from the first 5 seconds here of this election night, because we just started getting results really quickly that showed a total shift, a total reversal from the preliminary back in March when these two candidates, Ken Paxton and John Cornyn, ran against each other. Back in March, as a matter of fact, Cornyn finished in first place over Paxton. He beat him by about 2 points. Neither one of them got a majority. That's why we had this runoff.
With breaking news tonight, a major...
And why? Because Donald Trump endorsed him. Ken Paxton in 2023 was impeached by the Texas House, which is mostly Republican, because he abused his office to help a donor of his named Nate Paul. He was accused of obstructing justice, making false statements, and retaliating against whistleblowers. And in the resolution, the impeachment resolution, it included 20 articles. 20. Bribery, abuse of public trust, obstruction, misapplication of public resources, stealing from the government, giving it to whoever, and related misconduct. The main accusation was that as a Texas Attorney General, he would intervene in matters not only involving his friend Nate Paul, but other people that were donors. Nate Paul was a real estate developer, and he intervened in ways that they say benefited Paul and potentially himself. There were allegations, although there was no criminal investigation because it's Texas. It looks like he enriched himself financially as well. House investigators also said that Paxton's office mishandled internal warnings about the conflict of interest, and that employees who reported concerns were later fired or forced out. So he just got rid of whistleblowers. There was also a 2015 impeachment articles accusing Paxton of securities fraud. And then broader allegations that he misused state resources and lied to officials. All it took for you guys to pick a criminal was Donald Trump to say, do it. And you're like, we got it. And then he rolled out this. And this is if this is not the epitome of MAGA, I don't know what is. They stand for absolutely fucking nothing. They just are hateful, racist bigots. And I'm talking about MAGA. I'm talking about the people who put on that Trump hat every day. I have no problem generalizing that when you put on that Trump hat every day and you support people like Ken Paxton, that even if you are unaware that you are supporting racism and bigotry, you are. And here's what he came out. I want to show you the difference between the acceptance speeches here. And look at Ken Paxton first. It's always cruelty. It's always name calling. That's what MAGA wants.
My opponent is the most extreme radical the Democrats have ever nominated. He's even running a vegan campaign, whatever that is.
James Talarico. Christian James Talarico, who doesn't even support like single payer healthcare. James Talarico is an extremist. This is what happens when you run on nothing but Donald Trump. You just mock other people. Who cares if he's vegan? Why the fuck do you care? I don't even know what this vegan campaign is. Why are they talking about veganism? He's not even vegan. I see some of you guys saying that. He's not a vegan. He's been the target of political attacks, falsely claiming he eats a plant-based diet. The vegan allegations stem from a 2022 speech he gave to the Texas Humane Legislation Network. In that speech, he stated his campaign would reduce its climate footprint by purchasing only vegan food, which right-wing opponents later weaponized into claims about his personal lifestyle. In response, Talarico has publicly stated, "I've been eating barbecue since before Ken Paxton's first indictment." Okay. But who cares? Imagine being somebody who's like, "I'm not voting for him because he's a vegan." That's crazy. Why do you care? Why do you care?
A vegan campaign, whatever that is. He goes by a few names that you may all have heard of. Some people know him as Tofu Talarico. Some people call him Six-Gender Jimmy. I've even heard some people call him James Talarico.
I call you, "What the fuck are you looking at, Ken Paxton?" That's my nickname for him. "Why your eyes go in two different directions, Ken Paxton?" These are shitty nicknames, by the way. They're not that great. But this is accepted speech. What's he running on? I'll show you his website. It's nothing. It's just running on cruelty.
And others refer to him simply as Low T Talarico. But no matter what you call him, let me tell you this. James Talarico is a threat.
James Talarico would fuck Ken Paxton up in a fight. Let's not talk about low T there, Ken Paxton. You're not exactly masculine here.
To everything we hold dear in this state and in this country. He's a threat to our security and our safety.
How?
He wants open borders and even
doesn't want open borders. Here's the lie.
Even said a welcome mat should be at our southern border.
Oh no, you guys have welcome mats at your house, right? Does that mean just come on in? Or is that just like a nice way of saying like, "Welcome to our house"? Oh no, it says welcome.
He's a threat to our children.
How?
He wants boys and girls sports.
No, he thinks trans people should be able to play sports.
Gender mutilation surgery performed on kids.
No, what? You know how we have gender mutilation surgeries, like hundreds of thousands performed every day. I don't know. How many kids are born every day? That's probably too high. How many kids are born every day? How many children are born? And we'll just cut it in half. All right, 10,000. So let's call it 5,000. There's roughly, let's say 5,000 are boys. Let's say 70% of those are having gender mutilation surgery. The first thing I did was have gender mutilation surgery when I was born. Most of you had gender mutilation surgery when you were born. Are we against? We're only against that if the person's trans, right?
And when asked what he loved outside of his family and friends, you heard what Brandon Gill said. His first answer was trans kids. That's weird, and that's a radical guy.
I don't think that quote happened. I don't think any of that happened. What are you running on, Ken? These are just all things that you hate. I hate vegans. I hate people who are welcoming to immigrants, and I hate trans people. Cool.
He's a threat to our prosperity and Texas economy. He said you can't be a Christian if you support the oil and gas industries. Want to raise...
Let's see if he said that. Did Talarico say you can't be a Christian? No mutilation if it's for Jesus. Oh, yeah, that's right. Sorry. His video said, you can't call yourself a Christian and destroy God's creation with greenhouse gases. Okay. That's not the same thing. You can't call yourself a Christian and destroy God's creation with greenhouse gases. I think that's fair. God made the world, right? Are we supposed to destroy it? Good Lord. Everything they say is a lie. It's pathetic.
He said you can't be a Christian if you support the oil and gas industries. He wants to raise your taxes, and he won't do a single thing to lower costs for you and your family. And finally,
all right. I don't know what the last one that was, but that's what Republicans run on. Hatred, no ideas. And some Democrats run on that same thing. Let's be honest about that. That's not just a Republican thing. And fuck any Democrat right now who is running on Trump bad. You can run on policy. There's so many good available policies for you to run on. And we would love to hear people run on actual policy. Amy said Tom Brady was vegan during football training and play performances increased. Nate Diaz is very famously vegan. He has fought multiple times for the baddest motherfucker belt. He is a UFC Hall of Famer, and he's a vegan. But why does anybody care? I don't know why anybody even cares about that. Anyways, let's go down here. James Talarico, this is his first interview after Ken Paxton won, and he was asked, is this kind of how you wanted things to shake out? Now, the Republicans, if you're still here, I'm sorry. Trigger warning. This is the man you're supposed to be afraid of. You need to be very, very afraid of James Talarico. Sarah said from Gemini, AI isn't finding new energy sources. They are trying to accelerate materials discovery, mastering nuclear fusion physics, and optimizing synthetic clean fuels. Thank you for that. Dana said, for the goal and to let everyone know, we found the cerebral speed bump in the chat. Looking at you, Tyler. Natalie said, why was the watermelon nervous? It didn't want to be crushed betwixt men's thighs for charity. It was harder than I thought that was going to be. I appreciate that. And nobody clipped that and make a joke out of it. All right, here's what Talarico had to say.
First time you've joined us where you know who you'll be running against in November. Is this the campaign you wanted? Talarico versus Paxton. Is this the opponent you wanted out of this Republican primary?
Well, Ken Paxton embodies the broken political system that we're running against. He is the most corrupt politician in America. 3 years ago tomorrow, he was impeached by his own party for using his public office, his position.
Oh, happy anniversary, Ken Paxton. It's your impeachment anniversary today. W in the chat for Ken Paxton on his impeachment anniversary by his own party.
Of public trust to enrich himself and his donors at our expense. And that is exactly the problem in our politics. It's puppet politicians who serve themselves and their billionaire mega donors instead of serving us. It's why we can't afford anything. It's why we can't get ahead no matter how hard we work. The system is rigged by corrupt politicians like Ken Paxton. And so it's going to be all of us. It's going to be Democrats, independents, and Republicans. It's going to be urban Texans, rural Texans, suburban Texans. It's going to be all of us coming together, the people versus Ken Paxton. Impeach-iversary.
I like that. All right. I mentioned this before, but Christian Menefee beat Al Green, and I loved this concession speech here. This is a true progressive. Al Green is an absolute legend, but if I was voting, I would have voted for Christian Menefee here as well. This was his acceptance speech last night.
We're not going to let this election tear us apart. We're not going to let this election pit leader against leader. We're going to emerge from this stronger and united. Yes, we're going to bring that spirit of fierce and fearless protest that Al Green has.
That's a good point there, K-Dog. You don't have to join MAGA to vote for Republican, but you do have to vote for MAGA if you are a Republican. There's no choices. There's not a single person left in your party that is anything other than a complete and total sycophant to Donald Trump and the dumbest policies in the history of this country that are bending you over and repeatedly giving it to you without your consent. And yet some of you still want to vote Republican. It is one of the most pathetically sad things I've ever seen in my life. I don't understand. I have no idea what would convince you at this point to vote for a Republican other than like just admitting that your brain doesn't work.
I'm focused on tomorrow. So my message to everybody watching this is I don't care who you supported in November. I don't care who you supported in January and March and May. I'm here to work for each and every one of you. If we had your support, I'm so grateful we did. If we didn't, I look forward to earning your support. 18th Congressional District is the honor of my lifetime to serve y'all. My promise to you is I will always make y'all proud. This seat will never be about Christian Menifee. It will never be about my family. It will never be about me doing better in life. The 18th Congressional District belongs to you.
All right.
Thank you.
Love that. I really love that. This is for you guys. Like, there's just a different feeling there between those candidates. And the reason is that when you run for Congress or you run for Senate and you're MAGA, you're running for Donald Trump. It's always a performance for Donald Trump, and they recognize that. But I wanted to compare the two platforms here. I want to look at Menifee's platform. We've done James Talarico's before, but I just want to, because these were the two that happened yesterday. I want to look at Menifee's platform, and then I want to look at Paxton's platform. And set your party politics aside here for a second. You just tell me which one of these guys actually has a real platform. Bamarola said watermelon fantasy. Thank you. Guys, got about an hour and 15 minutes left. I appreciate you being so generous, helping us knock out that gift goal today. And reminder, TikTok, welcome back today. If you're here, like the live and share it out. We are live restricted as always. And so if you want to share this out to your friends, that would be greatly appreciated. And if you want to contribute to our gift goal, Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, Super Chats are the way to go. But let's look at these priorities. Affordability and the American dream. He'll raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. That's for the people. Make it easier to build homes than the average person can afford. Provide down payment help for first-time home buyers. Expand tax credits for parents and caregivers. Invest in career pipelines that lead to good-paying jobs without requiring a college degree. That should resonate with a lot of you MAGA folks, right? That sounds like a pretty MAGA thing. Expanding tax credits for parents and caregivers. You guys have been bragging about the expanded tax credit. That sounds like a MAGA thing. It's a thing that you guys have at least celebrated before. Down payment for first-time home buyers. No, we need the corporations to buy all the homes. That's not a MAGA thing. Wipe medical debt off of credit reports. Good idea. Eliminate student loan debt and make public and community college free for all, just like your grandparents had. Most of your grandparents were able to go to public college or community college for free or next to free. That's why they all had degrees and they didn't spend the next 30 years paying off student loans. And pass Medicare for all so everyone can see a doctor when they need one. This and wiping medical debt off the credit reports immediately brings people out of poverty. Sounds like a good plan to me. Guaranteeing access to healthcare through Medicare for all, protecting and strengthening public education. How do we plan on doing that? In Congress, will fight to fully fund public education, raise teacher pay, and expand Pell Grants so every student can afford college or career training. Not a lot you can honestly do there on the federal level. So much of that is done on the state level. Protecting abortion rights and reproductive health care. Heaven forbid we give women rights. Defending our democracy. What is he saying here? In Congress, will fight to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act and Freedom to Vote Act to protect every voter. Oh, that's not going to work for MAGA. You guys are trying to disenfranchise voters right now. Fighting for clean air and water. Yeah, I like that. Fighting for equality. You can click on all these and you can see the bullet points there. I won't go through all of them now, but let's compare to now Ken Paxton. What's Ken Paxton doing for us here? Carry the torch for Trump's agenda. Let me click on the details there. Oh, okay. He's always been a loyal supporter of President Trump and a staunch supporter of the America First movement. Both Trump and Paxton have been targeted in politically motivated witch hunts. Yeah, they're both criminals. Because there's nothing that scares the establishment more than a courageous conservative who never backs down from standing up for the American people. Paxton will champion Trump's legislative priorities, including cutting taxes, securing the border, and deporting illegal aliens, ending the weaponization of government, and draining the swamp. Okay, so no details there. Take a sledgehammer to the D.C. establishment. There are too many establishment politicians who've spent decades in Washington ignoring the people they're supposed to represent. Bitch, you got impeached fucking twice. Well, once, and another time almost impeached for literally being an establishment politician who ignore the people you're supposed to represent. That is your entire motherfucking legacy. What is this website? It's his, kenpaxton.com. This is his website. This bitch being like, I'm gonna be the guy that finally cleans it up. Ken Paxton is a conservative outsider. He's been in office for more than a decade. What kind of conservative outsider is that? Sovereignty matters. Borders must hold. Okay, what are you gonna do? He sued the Biden administration. He lost a bunch. Cool. No compromise, just principles. The radical left, what are they afraid of? We've seen an unprecedented assault on our constitutional freedoms like our Second Amendment rights. When? When did Congress attack your Second Amendment rights? When? Ken Paxton is running to stop the career politicians, except for him, who are attacking our way of life. He'll stand with President Trump. There you go. He got off his knees for 1 second to stand with Donald Trump. Don't worry. I'll be back on my knees in a hurry. Foreign policy that puts American first, period. Oh, I like this. So we're going to pull out of the war and we're going to stop funding Israel. Many politicians are concerned with sending billions to foreign countries and protecting the borders of other nations. Ken Paxton's top priority will always be the American people. Alongside President Trump, he will work to advance an American first policy that promotes peace through strength. Okay, so they're just going to keep going to war. Oh, okay. He's just going to follow Trump's policies of bomb Iran. I just came up with that right then. That's a win. Somebody clip that. No more blank checks. No more broken promises. This made me laugh. It says Ken Paxton is a strong fiscal conservative who will fight to cut taxes and stop the wasteful spending that has led to our nation being in over $36 trillion in debt after 4 years of Joe Biden causing skyrocketing inflation. It's $39 trillion now. It's already a song? Fuck. All right, well, it's probably already a parody song. But I just heard it the first time in my head. Yeah, why didn't they say 39 trillion? Because we're not going to point out that Trump is not a fiscal conservative. I don't even know what that means, by the way. A fiscal conservative is somebody who cuts taxes and increases spending. Conservatism is to keep things the same. Conservatives, all they ever do is cut taxes and increase spending. So I guess like when they say I'm a fiscal conservative, they mean I'm going to cut taxes and explode the debt. I guess that makes sense. And then this, America must be the crypto capital of the world. Why? Why? It was written by John McCain. That sucks. That's a good point, Sonny. Dave, the only gun ban was on bump stocks and Trump did it in his first term, dummy. Did David say there was an attack? What are you babbling about? Trump didn't ban any weapons. Oh, yeah, he did. Bump stocks. Yeah. All right. So Ken Paxton just, I'm running on sucking Donald Trump's dick. Cool. All right. This is just making me laugh. We've been doing this for a while. Some of you guys have been. Where's David? David's probably here. Every time we talk about Iran and we talk about Obama or Biden or anybody but Trump, the criticism of Iran is that they sent pallets of cash to Iran. Now you're going to hear Republicans advocating that we give money to Iran. The pallets of cash that were given to Iran was their money. It was their money that we gave back to them. It was frozen assets that we gave to them. Doesn't matter. Like, is it different if you give me $100 in cash or $100 in gold coins or $100 on a debit card? Is it any different? No, it's $100, right? Now Republicans are saying, in order to get out of this war, we're going to have to give Iran a bunch of frozen assets back.
Lead global security analyst at Washington Post Intelligence. Let me go right to you. I mean, is Iran going to retaliate here? Is a deal jeopardized now?
I don't think the tit-for-tat strikes will jeopardize the ongoing negotiations, but I do think that the president has exactly two choices. He can pay Iran to open the strait, or he can suffer the indignity of continuing this quagmire.
Now, when they say paying Iran to open the strait, what he means is Iran is saying, we'll end this, but you have to give us money. You bombed the fuck out of our country. We need reparations. And the Trump administration is now realizing that they're backed into a corner and they're going to have to pay to get out of this. You understand, the United States is going to have to pay 10x what Obama paid to get out of a war that we didn't need to be in. That's that good businessman, top negotiator, right? He's such a great fucking negotiator.
Longer and longer. And because I listen to the Scott Jennings radio show religiously, I know that the White House has no intention of paying them to open up the strait. Senior administration officials told Scott Jennings exclusively, you should check it out, that they're only going to pay them at the end of the process, not at the beginning of the process. The Iranians, by the way, are not going to go for that. That means this deal that they've been bragging about, which usually they brag about right before the markets open, it's usually right before the markets open that there's a lot of good news and then somehow the markets go up, and then over the course of a couple of days we find out that it was all BS.
Out of the deal?
It turns out that that's all BS, because what's going to happen is that they're not going to want to strike this horrible deal, according to Scott Jennings' top-level sources, and that means that the deal's not going to be struck, and the war's going to go on, quite sadly, actually.
I can't tell if your question is shade or strategic. Let me ask you, Scott.
It's a little.
Hey, K-Dog, wait till you hear the amount of money that Trump is going to give to Iran. Everybody just screenshot this from K-Dog, and we're going to hear K-Dog here in a minute. Obama gave those terrorists $1.2 billion to keep being terrorists. Well, it was their money. It wasn't our money. It was theirs. We unfroze those assets and gave them back to them. Now, that's true. That's a true thing, K-Dog. I want to just see if you keep that energy when Scott Jennings confirms, and this guy's name here is Josh Rogan. He covers intelligence for the Washington Post, which most people are going to say is a liberal rag. It's owned by Jeff Bezos. Like, he's pretty middle of the road. But Scott Jennings is going to confirm that everything he just said was true.
Tell me, do you agree with this assessment, obviously?
Yeah, he's.
And Amy said, and they do not have to give up nukes. Iran released the deal. Agree, yeah. Do you have that, Amy? Can you send that to Jen? Just the bullet points of the deal. I forgot to add that on here.
He's faithfully reproducing the briefing that I got from a senior administration official.
Let me go back there just so that he admits that.
Tell me, do you agree with this assessment, obviously?
Yeah, he's faithfully reproducing the briefing that I got from a senior administration official. There had been some reporting or some conjecture that there was going to be payments made on the front end, and what I was told is the only way Iran will ever see any sanctions relief or any financial gain of any of this is after they fulfill their commitments in a deal, principally turn over the nuclear material. That was made abundantly clear. It was made over and over again in the conversation. Also in the conversation, I was told that the deal was, a framework was 95% complete, although it was admitted to, it could all fall apart. It could all fall apart, and it also takes forever, even on minor back and forth with the Iran, it takes forever to get them to get back to you about even simple word changes, so it could take a long time. So there was optimism, but there was an admission. It could fall apart, but the real crux of the briefing was we will never pay these people unless they actually do something concrete which they promised.
Which is, obviously, that's exactly how the Obama deal went, right? We'll give you this money if you follow through. All right, the 10-point peace plan that Iran has released, and they're saying they need time to think about it. I think this is it. Is this the right one? No, that's from April. Let me play this then.
Again, Iran's pushing the U.S. to lift sanctions, to unfreeze assets. The Wall Street Journal editorial board actually is against and warned against any bailout of Iran. And here's what they wrote: Iran's regime went into this war.
K-Dog, I would shut the fuck up, honestly. All they need are 100 milk goats, and they'll be happy, I think is what you were saying. First of all, it's pretty shitty. It's like low-level bigotry out of you. But just wait till you find out how much it's going to be.
Are facing domestic, political, and economic crises. War has made these worse. Saving such a regime now with an economic bailout would be the real betrayal of the U.S. interest, even more than the Iranian people. So would that deal become a bailout, essentially?
Yeah, and it would be a really tough pill to swallow for the Trump people and for the Republicans, because it would make them into complete hypocrites for criticizing President Obama for giving $1.7 billion to the Iranians, and they're going to give them, what, $12 billion, $24 billion? So they're going to be 10 or 20 times worse than the Obama people. But that's the only way that Trump gets out of this thing. And that's why he's convening all of these cabinet members and trying to, push back against people like the Wall Street Journal opinion section, because he's got to sell this somehow. And it's a really bad sell.
I'll just reiterate.
And that's why I think ultimately it's not going to work, because he's not going to be able to get
I want to hear from Michael and Ashley.
All right, so there's 14 points. It's a memorandum of understanding that Iran released, and basically they said, here's what has been proposed by the United States, and we're going to consider it. Phase one. So I think it's a three-phase process. Phase one, in the first 30 days, is Iran opens the Strait of Hormuz to shipping traffic, which was not closed before this war. So just undoing something that Iran did in response to us bombing them. Great. U.S. ends its naval blockade of Iranian ports progressively over 30 days. Again, something that we weren't doing before we bombed them. And then the war ends on all fronts, including a ceasefire in Lebanon, meaning Israel and Hezbollah. Israel has said they're not willing to do that, so we'll see. And then a 30-day negotiation period begins to finalize a comprehensive agreement. Part 2 is the nuclear program. So Iran freezes uranium enrichment for 10 to 20 years, still being negotiated. Iran proposed 5 years. The U.S. wants 20. So they're just going to renegotiate the agreement that they had with Obama. And they're probably going to get worse terms. Iran exports 1,000 pounds of highly enriched uranium stockpile, likely diluted or transferred to a third party like Russia. Iran gives its highly enriched uranium to Russia. So we get a shittier version of Obama's deal, and then they send the uranium to Russia. Iran foregoes nuclear weapons and weaponization permanently, which they've always done. We had that again. Trump could have just not pulled out of the Iranian nuclear agreement. Enhanced inspection regime with UN SNAP inspections, which we had in the Iranian nuclear agreement. No underground nuclear facilities. The provision there is under discussion. I do believe they had underground facilities during the Iranian nuclear agreement, but if I remember correct, somebody correct me on that. I think they weren't supposed to have any underground facilities, but they did. I don't remember exactly. If somebody's knows more than I do, I think that was the case, but you can let me know. And then phase 3 is the U.S. progressively lifts the sanctions on Iran. All the sanctions that we have on Iran are going to come off. Billions in frozen Iranian assets released gradually. And then Iran will be permitted to sell oil with waivers from sanctions. What was the total? It was like 10 billion, right? I'm looking at the source that's here. Let me go back. They had cameras so they could supervise from outside of Iran. Iran wants 24 billion. K-Dog. Let's talk. K-Dog, now's your time. And it's going to tell us your education. What's a bigger number? 1.5 billion or 24 billion? And they want it in waves. 12 billion would be released upon signing, and then another 12 billion transferred within 60 days. So that money, 12 billion is it's held by Qatar, and then the 24 billion is considered by the United States to be the last stumbling block. There's 120 billion total in frozen Iranian assets. There's 20 billion in China, 6 billion in Iraq, Japan, Luxembourg, South Korea, and others. Tell us about that art of the deal, gang. Where'd K-Dog go? Did he leave? Did you take off, bud? MAGA, where are we at? Let's talk about it. Where's David? A political and economic ideology that advocates. We're still talking about how the fuck are we talking about communism still? How's that happening still? Amy said they do not have to give up nukes. Iran released the deal. It says they have to give. They don't have any nukes. It says that they would have to give up nuclear weaponization. So I don't know that that's true based on what I'm seeing, Amy. But Iran doesn't have nukes that anybody's ever proven. K-Dog took a break. Oh, sorry about that. All right, K-Dog. When you get back, let me know. But 24 billion seems higher than 1.5 billion to me.
Said to me point blank, we will never give these people $1 unless they produce concrete commitments. And those commitments would be largely centered on giving up nuclear ambitions, turning over the nuclear material, period. So I hear what the Wall Street Journal is saying. What the senior administration official...
Right. None of this is taxpayer money. Pennant, Gooder, whatever your name is. Yeah, agreed. It was frozen funds.
...told me was, bottom line, they'll never see $1 unless they do something, not just say something.
Yeah, man, I think this...
So what? Let's say that this goes through. What did we get? Iran never had nuclear weapons. And we get a watered-down version of the deal that Trump pulled us out of. Cool. Art of the deal. What a negotiator. Cost us probably $60 billion now at this point. In taxpayer money, let's look at the Iran war cost to the American people. It's cost the American people, not as taxpayers, but just out of their pockets, $48.6 billion. Gas went up $1.47, about $208 per American household. They estimate that the price of gas right now, without the war, would be $3.49 instead of $4.45. That's expected because it's summer, right? Prices come up in the summer. Yeah, that's exactly right. All he did was rip up the Obama deal to put the same thing back in his name, but it's worse. It's not better. And then spent billions of dollars on weapons, spent billions of dollars on war, lost 13 American lives, murdered thousands of innocent Iranians, cost the American consumer. It's going to be $60 billion. It's probably more because the cost of gas won't come down that quickly. How in the fuck could you still support this guy? Honestly, could you guys tell me what it is that you support about this movement now at this point? Is there anything you can point to from this administration that has made your life better? It's 469 in Kirksville. Could you show me, like, could you just point to something that has gotten better, like made your life better? Trans kids can't play sports. They still can. There's basically been nothing done about that except for in a handful of states. Saw a video this morning saying gas won't be back to normal prices until 2032. I'll show you that video actually, because this is circulating, and I want to explain that because it's not necessarily true. It's all speculative, but I think Mr. Global did this. This is, I think, the video that. Oh no, that's not it. Where's the one that's going around today? It's this one.
Going to be before we actually start to see some relief. Look at this. So how long is it going to be before we actually start to see some relief? Look at this. This is where we were before the war started. This is where we are right now. There's a huge amount of time that it's going to take, according to the futures market, before we get back down to that sub $70 an oil level. Look at this, 2032.
Now, this is just based on futures, like Brent oil futures. And these are the bets that people are making essentially on what the price of Brent oil futures will be at that time. These are economists. These are people who do this, or not necessarily economists, but they have expertise in trading oil. And so these projections are based on what the people who trade oil are guessing the price will be. So it's not for sure that it's going to be 2032. But the reason they're talking about these prices taking so long to come down is because we've decimated oil reserves in virtually every country, including our own. So at the same time, when you are paying and importing oil, you're also refilling your reserves, which means there's less in circulation, which means the supply is down and the price goes up. While the demand is still up, the supply is down, so prices stay high. That's basically what they're saying, and they're saying it. It could be June of 32 before that price per barrel gets all the way back down to where it was. What do we do there? Syndicate, you want to tell me what exactly? I know yours was dumb. Yours said, I know who the people I dislike are. Yeah. Nothing that this administration's done has benefited you. You just hate liberals. We get that. How many accounts do you have, by the way?
Nuclear material alone is very complicated. And it's going to take a long time, according to most experts. It took the Obama administration 2 years just to broker a deal. Early voting starts in September in most states across the country for midterms. And so to me, my priority as a strategist is to wrap this up as quickly as possible, because I don't want to give my friends on the other side an opportunity to have a noose around our necks because we haven't resolved this. They're going to start talking about the cost of living, and we're potentially giving billions to the Iranian regime that's funded proxies that have killed thousands of troops over the past 47 years, just as something that isn't palatable to most of Americans. And so to me, You got to figure it out. Maybe we get an Obama 2.0, Josh. But at this point, that's better than
I'm
this
with
thing
you.
going on.
I'm with you. They should cut their losses, and it's going to be called a surrender deal. But you know what? That's better than a quagmire, and that's where we are. You got a bunch of bad options, and I think Trump wants to get out. Everybody knows he wants to get out.
The president wants
and he's going to.
Sure, Syndicate. I appreciate that, but like, what's gotten better? That's the question I'm asking, and I think you should be good faith for a second. I think you should tell us what it is. Like, you can call everybody shitty, you can call everybody dumb, but what is it that you would point to from the Trump administration this go around that has made your life better or the life of Americans better? What would you point to there? I'm interested in that. I know one thing that isn't getting better is foreign policy. Here was Jesse Waters trying to spin this. This was unbelievable. Jesse Waters, who every single time they talk about Iran is like, Obama gave them pallets of cash. Now watch him spin this.
The only thing is,
everything is getting better. Fuck the woke bullshit. Yeah, I think that you're proving this, and we do this every single day. I'm not new to this, but do you think it's interesting? And I maybe internally, I asked you for one specific thing, and you can't name one. You just said everything and fuck woke people, and that's what we all think you are. We all think that that's what MAGA is. Just a bunch of people who don't really know anything that hate us. And so all they care about is winning elections and hating us. But you don't care about like things actually getting better. And the reason that you don't care about things getting better, if we're going to guess, is because all the people that you vote for are fucking stupid. And they're bought and paid for by corporations who don't want things to get better. They just want to collect all the money. And so they're just mouthpieces for corporations. And you're worse than that. You're repeating the words of the mouthpieces at your own detriment just to own the libs. That's what we all think of you. And every time we give you guys an opportunity to prove otherwise, that maybe we're just missing something. Maybe things are really getting better, and it's like, what, could you point it out to us so we can figure it out? You're always like, no, fuck the wokes. I hate trans. Every time. I don't think things are getting better. I think that I'm going to be careful because it's my first day back on TikTok, but I think that many of you are just miserable. And the only joy that you find in life is hating liberals. And it's a weird existence to just hate liberals. Why not advocate for things that might make things better? Why continue to vote for people who purposely fuck things up? They're making your life significantly worse, but you're like, yeah, but at least it makes the libs mad. What if the libs were happy, but your life was better? I think many of you would choose to live a worse life as long as libs were mad.
is that you're going to have to unlock some money. Now, it's not.
No, it's not even close to like hating Trump. It's not even close to that. Not even remotely the same thing. My hatred for Trump is because he makes everything worse. Same reason I hate a lot of Democrats, though. Like, I don't like people who don't listen to the people. I don't like people who lie in front of you and be like, I'm for the people, and then they do the exact opposite. My hatred for Trump has very little to do with who Trump is as a person. I mean, nobody liked Trump before. But like the reason that I think you guys do like Trump is because he hates us and you hate us, and that's all. That's literally been Republican policy as long as I've been around. I was a Republican. I worked for the GOP. That was our policy. That's all we ever talked about. We'd sit around in Republican meetings at the conventions, either county, state, or national conventions, and we all just sat around and talked about how scary Obama was and how much we hated liberals. That was it. Nobody ever talked about policy. Not once. Not once in every convention that I went to did anybody ever talk about anything substantive with policy. It's just been grievances and like coded racism and bigotry. Like we're the victims. There's an anti-Christian bias. They're coming for the white people. It's just been nothing but whining as long as I've been involved in politics. That is your platform. You have done nothing. What signature piece of legislation would you point to from conservatives in the last 40 years? You have two fucking big ass tax cuts that exploded the debt. You dragged us to war not once but twice now, thanks to Benjamin Netanyahu. What could you possibly point to that conservatives have done for this country? All you've done is driven us into debt, helped rich people get more rich. That's it. That is your crowning achievement, is that rich people are more rich and we have more debt than ever. Oh, and we killed a lot of Muslims, like a lot of Muslims. That's your crowning achievement. Name one other achievement from conservatives in the last 50 years. Something specific. Now, what they're going to do, and I'll just predict their response, they're just going to ask me about Democrats. They're going to criticize Democrats. They don't know one. I promise you, not a single conservative will point to a policy right now that is the crowning achievement of the Republicans, something that they would stand by. Not one of them will have an example. They will all talk about Democrats right now. They will all get really, really emotional and in their feelings, and they'll play whataboutism, and not one of them will pick anything. Or, yeah, Breon, or they'll be like, everything's better. Anti-woke. It'll just be generic nonsense. But here's Jesse Waters, who has made a career out of talking about Obama sending pallets of cash. Now suddenly, because he is a cuck for the administration, having to say, actually, this is better that we're going to have to give $24 billion.
The only thing is that you're going to have to unlock.
Tariffs saved my job. Sure they did. How? How did tariffs save your job? Oh my.
Some money.
Tell us the industry that you're in and how they saved your job.
Now, it's not like sending pallets of cash over there like Obama did. It's basically just unfreezing some of their accounts. But that's like peanuts compared to the hundreds of billions of dollars that they've lost because of the sanctions, the blockade, the war. It's absolutely crippled them. So I bet a lot of these guys, they unfreeze the accounts. I bet they fly to Beijing or fly to Vlad's neighborhood and just hang out with the mistresses, because it's not a safe place to be. It's not a good place to be in Tehran.
You're welcome, Illusion. Illusion said, thanks for covering my favorite topic, Bubba.
After
Anytime.
all this. And Hines, he's basically admitting he's an idiot. He's saying that, yes, I was perfectly comfortable with Iran on the cusp of a
I didn't dismiss it. I said, sure, it did. Tell us what industry you're in and how tariffs save your job. Just tell us what industry you're in and how it saved your job. Oh, my.
nuke armed to the teeth and us not being able to do anything about it. No bueno.
No bueno. Jessica, I hope you had a lovely Memorial Day hating America.
What?
I'm joking. Do I have to say I'm joking?
My mom's watching.
Oh, she's
I love your mother.
today. She's
Wonderful.
Judy rules.
It's an odd responsibility for the victor, but they still have to create some kind of face-saving move for the loser. What might that be for Iran? You have 30 seconds.
Iran is the loser here? It seems like Iran is going to get $24 billion and exactly what they had before all of this. And they get the added benefit of forcing Israel to stop attacking other countries. Because remember, part of this war with Iran, for some reason, is that Israel gets to attack Lebanon.
It'll come down to the details of whatever this is. You know, if they get a deal, is it going to be better, the same, or worse than the JCPOA? That's what it's going to get compared to. I loved the quote from Jesse there about the money that would be released to the Iranians, that it denying the fact that it was their money that was being held in control.
It wasn't me. Wants to remind you that Jesse Waters' own mother can't stand him. That's true. And is a liberal and embarrassed of him.
Bank accounts when Obama did it, only $1.7 billion, not the huge numbers that people say, versus what's going to happen this time when Donald Trump has to give them some of their money in order to get them to take a deal.
Iran got their asses kicked? How? What do you mean? They got bombed. I mean, we murdered some people. Is that winning a war? We murdered more of you. Iran gets to, you know who won? Russia did pretty well in this war. China did pretty well in this war. Iran's going to force, you understand that those unfrozen assets means that Iran, all the damage that has been done to Iran by us is going to be paid for with those unfrozen assets. You understand that? That's what we're paying them for. We're paying Iran reparations. Watch their heads explode. Yeah. Doing reparations, guys. I mean, I'm sure Iran would rather that none of this ever happened. War is never good, but Jesus Christ, this was a clusterfuck of a war for us. We didn't need to go there. There was no reason for us to bomb Iran. None whatsoever. Cost us billions of dollars, cost consumers billions of dollars. This is the dumbest president ever. It's so sad. Just, like, we're at the point now, it's really sad to watch you guys defend it. Brian said, I missed you on TikTok. Thanks for coming back. Thank you. Appreciate that. I would say maybe we missed TikTok. I don't know. We'll see. And we'll see how much longer they let me stay on TikTok. Might not be that long. All right. Move past that. 12:17. I want to talk about this. We have a bunch of judges being confirmed right now.
Could you define textualism?
And this was an exchange between Peter Welch from Vermont, who apparently is another person that lives in Vermont. I don't know. And he was questioning Benjamin Flowers, who's nominated to be a circuit judge for the 6th Circuit. This was on May 20th, but I thought this was interesting because there is conservatives' way of reading the Constitution is really silly. One, some of them say that they are textualists. Other times they'll say that they are originalists. Obviously, you can't be an originalist with everything with the Constitution because the Constitution doesn't cover everything. There's things that have come up, new technologies, new laws, that you can't be an originalist. So then you rely on being a textualist, saying that previous rulings is what you're going to rule on, but you're going to then try and get into the mind of the founding fathers and create this. It's literally just like a made up persona of who the founding fathers were, and you say, I'm an originalist because I believe the founding fathers would have thought this way. And I thought this was really interesting by, what was his name again? Senator Peter Welch. I thought this was a really interesting line of questioning, and it goes to show, like, this is the Heritage Foundation, and these are the types of judges that we've put on the Supreme Court. They have this same type of thinking. It is interesting to watch. I've never seen somebody questioned about it in a hearing like this. Watch how silly their ideology is, and then you start to figure out why the Supreme Court rules the way they do, why they're unpredictable in the way that they are, is because their ideology doesn't make any fucking sense. It's literally just like fairy tale.
Mr. Flowers?
Let's see. Real quick, we got 40 minutes left. You guys have done a great job helping us knock out that gift goal. Dollar Train would knock it out by the end of the live there, and I appreciate you guys. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo is the way to go. And I'll read anything within reason that you send in a message. Jamar says, imagine hating someone so much that you fuck up the country just to reverse what they did. Hashtag Obama. One of the people that said when we asked the conservatives to give me like one crowning achievement, they were like, we repealed Obamacare, which immediately skyrocketed the cost of healthcare. It took the average deductible up by $2,000. So everybody paid more, the deductibles were more, and less people were insured. And they're like, that's our crowning achievement. We made things worse.
Yes, absolutely. Textualism is...
let me get back to the question.
In my view,
could you define textualism, Mr. Flowers?
Yes, absolutely. Textualism is... in my view, textualism and originalism are the same thing. Textualism is with respect to statutes, originalism, the Constitution. And the view is that words have a fixed meaning when enacted into law, and courts should apply the law according to that fixed meaning.
Now, that's weird. That doesn't make any sense. None of that makes any sense. The founding fathers had no way to project what we were going to be looking at here. Textualism and originalism is just a way for them to like slide back into a fantasy world where they get to imagine what the founding fathers would have said.
So, I mean, does that mean that the judges have to go back to what the meaning of the word was when the Constitution was written in order to interpret it in today's situation?
So it would depend on the constitutional provision in question. The 27th Amendment, for example, was ratified in the 90s, and so it'd be you wouldn't have to go back.
Talk about the Constitution. What you told me, originalism, textualism are the same thing. And essentially, it says we've got to go back to the original document, right?
That's correct, Senator. The original public meaning at the time the document was ratified.
Right. And, of course, at the time the document was ratified, it was passed, we didn't have the AI, we didn't have the Internet, we didn't have the government we have. Isn't that correct?
That is correct, Senator.
So there's no way that the people who wrote the document using the words that were available to them had in mind the application of those words to what now exists in the 21st century. Would you agree with me or not?
But they did agree with broad principles that can be applied to those technologies.
How?
This is conservatism in a nutshell. This is why none of their rulings make any fucking sense ever. They're just like, broadly speaking, they say like all these words have definitive meaning. Okay, so what about the words that there was no meaning for those words? Well, then there's a broad ideology that we revert to. Where do you get that broad ideology? How do you get to that? This is why stacking the court is really important. Democrats, if they can win back the House, the Senate, and the presidency, they should absolutely expand the shit out of the court. They should get all money out of politics. And we're going to cover this in a minute. We're actually probably going to go a little over today. But I wanted to show this ideology so we can get to the next part of why we have to get rid of this Republican majority and get rid of the corruption that has allowed these textualists and originalists. That means absolutely nothing other than, oh, we get to use our own imagination on what's important, because we get to go back into the minds of dead people and make determinations on what they would have thought.
How did the writers of the Constitution have a thought about the internet? Explain that to me.
Let me give you an example with a case. There's a case called Kelo that my former boss, Justice Scalia, wrote about thermal imaging of homes. And if a thermal imaging device, which didn't exist at the founding, could peer into a home the same way that you could only peer into a home at the founding by entering, then that would constitute a search. The other point about originalism...
Isn't that an interpretation?
Yes, originalism does require...
See how tricky this is? You're relying on the words. They have real meanings. Do you see how quickly they move away from what they say? Like, I'm an originalist. I'm a textualist. Okay, but you just had to create a whole new meaning there. That was an interpretation. You're not a textualist. You're not an originalist. Do you see how their ideology, they can just like shift in and out and how moldable it is? They're moldable to whoever pays them. And they're mostly moldable to the Heritage Foundation, who tells them how to rule.
Interpretation.
Right. So there is a application of a theory that textualism, originalism, is founded on the words in the meaning that they had at that time, and then the interpreter, a judge, is then applying his or her judgment as to what that author would do with respect to something that didn't even exist a couple of centuries ago, right?
True. As with respect to law, oftentimes lawyers must draw analogies.
You know, quite seriously, isn't that pretty weird?
That's the best. That's my favorite part. Isn't that weird? Do we have to keep pretending like they're saying real fucking words? Do we have to keep pretending forever that Republican ideology, conservative ideology, is anything other than completely fucking made up on the spot? Why does one party get to just like live in a fairy tale and just like invent ideologies whenever they want and then pretend that those ideologies were like baked into the founding of this country?
I frankly don't think it is. The majority of today's Supreme Court is textualist. And the more important point is that
the majority of the Supreme Court was also placed there by Leonard Leo, and they're all corrupt, and they're all taking money, and they're all in on it. And they all say that they're textualists because it doesn't fucking mean anything. Because it's convenient sometimes, and other times it's not, and they just make shit up, and they go on trips with their billionaire donors, and their billionaire donors pay for memberships and pay for private school and pay for flights and stays at resorts, and there's no rules against any of that. So they just make shit up. Textualist just means we make shit up.
Textualism leaves that sort of updating largely to the political branches. They trust Congress and the state.
You know, on the leaving things up to the Congress, you argued against the price negotiation that was part of the Inflation Reduction Act to provide better prices for folks who are buying prescription drug medication, right?
That's not quite right. We argued that it's a taking. So we did not seek to strike down the law, but rather...
So even though the government provides patent protection so that there's pricing power for the intellectual property, even though the government provides Medicare and Medicaid through that prescription drug access. And even though the government provides employer-sponsored health care with tax benefits that provide health insurance through employers and creates a market for the drug companies, it's impermissible, and according to your brief, for the government to try to negotiate a situation where instead of paying retail when they're buying wholesale, we can't negotiate on behalf of consumers? That was the text. That was the thrust of your approach.
Senator, the brief was filed on behalf of a client, but the position was not that that would be impermissible.
Sorry, your personal position on that.
Well, I can't state my personal position because it's a matter of pending litigation and under the canons of.
Well, it's over. I mean, the Supreme Court said it's okay.
I believe the case you're talking about is still pending at the Supreme Court.
All right.
All right, we'll cut it there. But I just wanted to show their ideology, and this is the first time I've ever seen somebody pick apart textualism and originalism and how nonsensical it is. But this was a video that
it's a clearance sale
that Legal Eagle did like 3 years ago. It's still as pertinent now as it was back then. And about 30 minutes. We'll get through this. I've got probably two more videos. This one and one other video, and then we'll get out of here. But I wanted to show this video because I don't think it's a big enough story. I don't think we talk enough about how corrupt our Supreme Court is. And before we do the both sidesism, it's on one side. It's clearly on one side. When you take like the gifts that have been given to Supreme Court justices, it's like I think Ketanji Brown Jackson got like concert tickets one time. These guys are going on private jets. They're having like their family member's school paid for. They're going to private like 5-star resorts. They have memberships at all these clubs, and they're bought and paid for. And there's a man named Leonard Leo who you probably should know, and he's basically the person who's been tasked with by the Heritage Foundation and dark money billionaires of going around and finding judges who are open to pushing this ideology and telling them that if you're a judge, we'll get you nominated on a circuit court and then we'll move you on up. It's the reason that Ted Cruz and Mike Lee went from vehemently anti-Trump to please give me your dick in my mouth at all times, because they desperately want to be Supreme Court justices, and they're also owned by Leonard Leo. But Legal Eagle, every once in a while, who does a good job on YouTube. If you don't follow Legal Eagle, I think he's got like millions of followers, 3.91 million followers. Every once in a while, he gets pissed off, and this was one of those times.
On Clarence Thomas. According to a bombshell report from ProPublica, Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas has been secretly accepting gifts in the form of luxury vacation from billionaire Republican donor Harlan Crow and failed to disclose them for over 20 years. And
why can't anything be done about the court's judges taking bribes? Because there's no rules. They have decided that circuit court judges, members of Congress, they all have rules. For some reason, we have decided that the Supreme Court, there are no rules about the trips that they take. We just let them police themselves. They're the only branch that gets to police themselves that way. It's bizarre.
Second ProPublica report revealed that one of Crow's companies purchased 2 vacant lots in a house from Thomas and his relatives in 2014, which Thomas also failed to disclose. Also, the home just happens to house one Leona Williams, Clarence Thomas's mom, who the billionaire donor has allowed to live there rent-free. And now a Washington Post investigation discovered that Thomas has for decades claimed income from a real estate company that no longer exists. The optics alone here are terrible. These luxury trips and real estate sales are potentially worth millions of dollars in benefits flowing from a conservative billionaire megadonor toward one of the 9 votes that have basically unchecked power over the whole US legal system. And Justice Thomas determined that he had no obligation to disclose any of this until he was caught. And frankly, upon examining the toothless ethics laws in place for our nation's top court and the apparent lack of political will to enforce the laws that we actually do have, Justice Thomas may be right. Now, before diving into the Clarence Thomas saga, let's talk about the key players here. First, we have the inheritor of a Dallas real estate fortune, Harlan Crow, who is a longtime megadonor to Republican candidates, causes, and organizations. Now, a few years after Justice...
Now, Leo, I believe Leonard Leo works with and for Harlan Crow. That's a name that we're going to need to know. I don't remember if they cover Leonard Leo here as well. And again, 30 minutes left. I'm going to try and let this play as much as possible so we can go through this. If you guys want to help us knock out that gift goal by the end of the live, that would be greatly appreciated. This is a lot of hours that we put into this every day. It starts early, and that's what we need to keep the show going and be able to pay our bills. So I appreciate you guys in advance for helping us knock out that gift goal.
Thomas joined the Supreme Court in 1991, Crow met Clarence Thomas and his wife, Ginny. And in the years that followed, they claimed to have become close friends, though importantly, in the years after he became a Supreme Court justice. Now, Crow is also a major donor to the Federalist Society, a conservative legal organization. Crow has publicly given more than $10 million in political contributions, and probably more via undisclosed dark money donations. But when asked about his contributions, Crow once told the New York Times that he, quote, does not disclose what I'm not required to disclose. Now, on April 6, 2023, ProPublica revealed that Clarence Thomas has accepted luxury trips nearly every year from Crow without listing them on his federal disclosure forms. In June of 2019, Justice Thomas and his wife Ginny flew on Crow's Bombardier Global 5000 jet to Indonesia, then boarded Crow's 162-foot super yacht for 9 days of island hopping. The total cost of the trip would have exceeded $500,000 had the Thomases chartered the plane and the fully staffed yacht themselves. According to the report, Thomas went on at least 6 trips on Crow's private jet, including to Indonesia, upstate New York, and New Haven, Connecticut. Thomas also traveled with Crow to the Bohemian Grove, an exclusive California all-male retreat, and visited Crow's ranch in East Texas. And 1 week per year, Thomas would vacation at Crow's private resort in the Adirondacks. And this is certainly much different from the more humble and down-to-earth image that Justice Thomas has attempted to cultivate over the years.
You know, I don't have any problem with going to Europe, but I prefer the United States. And I prefer seeing the regular parts of the United States. I prefer going across the rural areas. I prefer the RV parks. I prefer the Walmart parking lots to the beaches and things
He's such an everyman.
Yeah, sure. I'm sure that's the case. And just a week after the initial report on April 13th, ProPublica published details of an October 2014 real estate transaction between Crow and the Thomas family. According to public documents, one of Crow's companies paid just over $133,000 for 2 vacant lots and a single-family home that were co-owned by Thomas, his mother, and the family of Thomas's late brother. The transaction, which had not previously been disclosed, was the first known instance of money flowing directly from the Republican megadonor to a Supreme Court justice. Now, under the terms of the sale, Crow allowed Justice Thomas's then 85-year-old mother, Leola Williams, to live in her home for the rest of her life. She lives there currently.
Giving mama a free house? Harlan, this is Legal Eagle doing the video. They're talking about Harlan Crow.
Rent-free, but is...
I don't know if we've ever talked about Bohemian Grove on this show before. I'm not sure. I don't think so.
Responsible for property taxes and insurance. And after the sale was completed, contractors then undertook extensive renovations of the house. Then, on top of those transactions, according to an April 16th article by the Washington Post, Thomas has reported hundreds of thousands of dollars of income from a firm called Ginger Limited Partnership for 2 decades. The problem here is that the real estate firm, founded by his wife and relatives, has not existed since 2006. The company's assets were taken over by a similarly named Ginger Holdings, LLC, but Thomas's disclosure forms make no mention of a newer firm. Now, given the similarity of the names, it's possible that the company was just listed in error, but it merits mention given Thomas's decades-long history of non-disclosure. In a statement provided to ProPublica, Crow describes the Thomases as, quote, very dear friends, and defended the trips as the kind of hospitality he extends to all their close friends. Quote, we have been most fortunate to have a great life of many friends and financial success, and we've always placed a priority on spending time with our family and friends. With respect to the property...
First of all, it should not be an acceptable response that I do this because we're friends. You don't get to be a Supreme Court justice and then also get to take bribes like this and just play it off as, oh, we're friends, especially when Harlan Crow is a political donor and he has business before the court all the time, whether it be directly or indirectly or just ideologically. This is how fucked our country is. Like we're not going to do anything about this. We're not going to do anything about curbing their ability to take bribes.
Crow said he purchased the home with a plan to turn it into a public museum honoring Clarence Thomas. While he claimed the transaction was at market rate, Crow purchased a vacant lot and a house on the same block for $40,000 the prior year.
Peter said, glad you guys are back. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you for joining the Dollar Train. Hop on board, everybody. Damien said, extra for those who can't. Appreciate that. Thanks for joining the Dollar Train.
Crow did not explain why he bought the 2 vacant lots, but indicated that they had been sold. Crow also asserted that he has never attempted to influence Justice Thomas on any legal or political issue, and claims he is unaware of any friends attempting to influence Thomas on the same. But at the same time...
nothing to see here then. Okay, he's never influenced him. We're good.
Crow serves on the board of multiple groups that have advocated at the Supreme Court through the filing of amicus briefs. And in 2005, a company called Trammell Crow Residential that was formed by Harlan Crow's father and partly owned by Harlan Crow was a defendant in a case before the Supreme Court. Clarence Thomas did not recuse himself from that case. In response to ProPublica's reporting, Clarence Thomas defended the trips and pleaded ignorance that it was wrong, and in a rare statement stated, quote, "Harlan and Kathy Crow are among our dearest friends, and we have been friends for over 25 years. As friends do, we've joined them on a number of family trips during the more than quarter century we have known them. Early in my tenure at the court, I sought guidance from my colleagues and others in the judiciary and was advised that this sort of personal hospitality from close personal friends who did not have business before the court was not reportable. I've endeavored to follow that counsel throughout my tenure and have always sought to comply with the disclosure guidelines. These guidelines are now being changed as the committee of the Judicial Conference responsible for financial disclosures for the entire federal judiciary just this past month announced new guidance, and it is, of course, my intent to follow this guidance in the future." Now,
shouldn't it be, I'm not going to take gifts from people anymore? Shouldn't it be that? Or do we not pay our Supreme Court justices enough?
Statement raises far more questions than it answers. For example, while Thomas acknowledges being gifted family trips from Crow and perhaps others, he does not address the use of Crow's plane for other reasons. And as we'll talk about later, travel and the actual vacation itself are treated differently. For example, in 2016, Thomas used Crow's plane for a direct 3-hour trip to and from New Haven, Connecticut, which would have cost about $70,000. And it appears that Thomas might have been the only one on that plane. And obviously no one would ever vacation in New Haven, Connecticut, so the trip must have been for some other reason. Additionally, Thomas asserts that he sought guidance within the judiciary and was advised that his hospitality from close personal friends was not reportable, but Thomas doesn't specify.
Thank you, Robin.
Who advised him, whether they had any expertise whatsoever, whether they were self-interested in that advice, whether this occurred before or after befriending Crow, or whether he followed up after this initial advice within the 30 years that this has been going on. And while Thomas claimed that he has always sought to comply with disclosure guidelines, the justice has a documented history of forgetting to disclose certain things. In 2011, Thomas amended prior forms to reflect income his wife earned between 1998 and 2003 from the Heritage Foundation, which is a conservative think tank, which Thomas claimed was inadvertently omitted. A 2004 LA Times report revealed that—
Except for the goal, chat joke, or for the GOATs. If Dems win both houses of Congress, can they investigate, impeach, and remove those justices who've taken bribes? Probably not, but what they can do is they can pass laws requiring rules for Supreme Court judges.
Thomas had accepted private plane trips and expensive gifts, including a Bible that was previously owned by Frederick Douglass, valued at $19,000, and a bust of Abraham Lincoln valued at $15,000. The article also noted that Crow had donated $175,000 for a new Clarence Thomas wing at the Justice's Childhood Library in Georgia. And after the Times report—
Damn, dude, what a friend. We all need a Harlan Crow friend. We all need a political operative who gets us a judgeship and then gives us money all the time.
Continued to take plane trips from Crow, he just stopped disclosing them. And ProPublica is not the first publication to raise questions about the relationship between Crow and the Thomas family. In 2011, the New York Times detailed numerous favors that the Texas billionaire had done for the Thomases, including helping to finance a library dedicated to the justice in Savannah, Georgia, and providing $500,000 for Ginny Thomas to start a Tea Party conservative activism group, which came with a $120,000 a year salary for Ginny Thomas. And in a move that stirred—
Ever heard Ginny Thomas speak? The idea that Ginny Thomas is drawing a salary or using words at any point is laughable if you've ever heard Ginny speak.
Controversy at the time, Crow financed a multi-million-dollar restoration of a cannery that included a museum about the culture and history of Pinpoint, Georgia, a pet project of the Associate Justice. Now, Crow says he hasn't tried to influence Thomas on any issue, and it's true that people who are ideologically aligned are probably more likely to become friends. But if a billionaire gave my partner $500,000 to start a political organization, flew us around the world on a private jet, bought property from me that would both house my mother for the rest of her life, and promised to have that house turned into a museum honoring me, well, you might question the independence.
And this is like where we're fucked, right? They're skating by on a loophole. You could be the biggest fan of Clarence Thomas on earth and say, none of this is corrupt, this is just a friend. But if you take the donor and the person out, the judge out, and just make these generic people, and you recognize that anybody is going to be able to take money from anybody as long as they claim that they're friends, then you can see how corrupt this could easily be. whether you can believe Thomas is corrupt or not, I think it's pretty obvious. I think you have to be living with your head in a hole to not see it. But even if you don't, just make these generic donor, generic judge. Generic donor is giving generic judge millions of dollars in gifts, buying a house for mom, donating to all their causes, creating a wing in their name, donating to their pet projects. You can see how obviously corrupt this could be. And because that it could be corrupt and that the exit is just saying like, oh, they're my friend, means we should change the fucking rule. You should never be able to get out of this by saying, oh, they're my friend.
Of this channel. Harlan, call me. Now, Thomas's former law clerk, James Ho, who currently sits on the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, defended his former boss by suggesting that the hypocritical double standards were at play, saying that, quote, there's a big difference between actual corruption and the appearance of corruption. But even if there isn't any quid pro quo between Crow and Thomas, the entire crux of judicial ethics is based on—
Neely said, Jen, your ability to guilt is top notch. My bubby would have been so proud.
On avoiding any appearance of impropriety. But under 28 U.S. Code Section 455, any federal judge, including these Supreme Court justices, are supposed to recuse themselves from any proceeding, quote, in which his or her impartiality might reasonably be questioned. Unfortunately, there are neither official rules nor a legal mechanism to force the justices to recuse themselves, and Chief Justice Roberts has long resisted calls to impose a code of ethics on the Supreme Court. And not surprisingly, there is a wide-ranging debate on this topic.
Jen Star said, because obviously we don't want to piss Jen Dub off. That's a good point. Send that motherfuckers. Join the Dollar Train. Appreciate it. And Lee said, late Antifa dues. Thank you. Always good to get those Antifa dues in early, but when they're late, we still appreciate it.
Multiple legal experts told ProPublica that these non-disclosures were not just unethical, but may have broken the law, specifically the Ethics in Government Act of 1978. And in a bit of cheekiness from Congress, the Congressional Research Service put out a helpful explainer of this law following, quote, a recent article detailing undisclosed trips by
Ooh, that's deep. Ethics is the antithesis of theism. Captain Homer. Ooh, that's deep.
Associate Justice. Whoever that could be. Of course, as you may know, finding a great lawyer can be hard. That is, until now. My firm, the Eagle Team, is now accepting new clients. If you've been injured in a car accident, medical malpractice, or just about anything.
Skip that. All right. We're going to end there on that video. And I wanted to get to Jamie Raskin here, who is so good at this. And it's going to, and it pisses Republicans off, which is a little bit funny. But here's Jamie Raskin talking to attorney Green Scherer, who's a partner at Scherer Joff LLP, over these exact allegations of Clarence Thomas. So that video was made 3 years ago. We've never done anything about Clarence Thomas being obviously on the payroll. Here's Jamie Raskin, and you can. The reason I want to show this video is Legal makes a great case, but sometimes when you have this case, you wonder what's the other side of this argument. Well, here's the other side of this argument, and let's see how effective people are at defending the corruption of the Supreme Court.
California, Ms. Lofgren.
Mr. Chairman, with all due respect, I keep hearing about how court packing is the greatest threat facing the judiciary and the rule of law, but I don't think that's the crisis facing the court right now. Real crisis is a growing ethics and corruption problem at the Supreme Court, and it is one that Congress can actually do something about. Unfortunately, my time does not allow me to list every undisclosed luxury trip.
That's crazy. If it's close to, I don't know what you're talking about, Amber, but that's crazy. If it's between fascism and communism, I'm going to go closer to the fascism side. All right. Amber, you might have daddy issues, I think. I think you have daddy issues. I think you need somebody to tell you what to do. Or you don't understand communism. It's one of those two things. That's fucking insane. That's honestly fucking insane.
Private jet flight, billionaire-funded vacation, yacht excursion, and lavish gift uncovered so far.
Someone with daddy issues. I don't know if that's it. It's just authoritarian. Like you need an authoritarian. I don't know if that's daddy issues. This isn't my area of expertise. Some of you can probably more correctly identify it. Either way, that's fucking crazy.
But the scale is staggering. According to Fix the Court, Justice Clarence Thomas alone reportedly received more than 100 gifts worth over $2.4 million.
No, they're not both bad options. Sorry, this is my last time. Amber, then that's why I say I just don't think you know what communism is. It's crazy to say that those are both bad options. I think what you should do is you should go research communism and ignore what you think you know about communism. Because what you've been told about communism is generally not true. Like the famous communists, the famous when they talk about Mao and Stalin, they weren't practicing communism. So, but fascism is always bad, always bad. Fascism literally like picks a group of people and makes them the problem, and you have to get rid of those people. Communism in its actual pure form, which is why it's silly. Like if you were saying, Amber, if you said, if I had to choose between the fascism started by either Hitler or Mussolini, the fascisti, if I had to choose between the fascisti and Stalin's USSR, then those are two bad choices. But Stalin's USSR was not communism. They called themselves communists. So that would make sense. And that's why I'm saying, if you're talking about the ideologies of fascism versus communism, I think that's a really silly answer. But let's get back to the courts. I got distracted. I apologize.
Staggering. According to Fix the Court, Justice Clarence Thomas alone reportedly received more than 100 gifts worth over $2.4 million, while all of his fellow justices combined received gifts worth only $248,000 over the same period, a 20-year period. Here are just a few examples Justice Thomas reportedly accepted. Luxury vacations on a billionaire's super yacht in Indonesia that ProPublica estimated likely exceeded $500,000. More than 2 decades of repeated private jet flights on billionaire-owned aircraft, including trips on a Bombardier Global 5000 and even a private Boeing 737, with some individual flights estimated in the tens of thousands to over 100,000.
Cooking News, like, come on, just 35 to go. I might have the wrong number there, but thank you.
At least 26 private jet flights and 8 helicopter trips identified by investigators. Annual stays and an exclusive private Adirondacks resort, where nearby rooms can cost more than $2,000 a night. Luxury resort stays in Florida and Jamaica, VIP skybox access and luxury suite tickets to major sporting events, trips to Bohemian Grove.
There's a long-ass list of gifts that he's been given. That is a long fucking list.
School tuition payments for a child he was raising, and real estate transactions involving property tied to his family. According to Fix the Court, Justice Alito accepted approximately $170,000 in gifts over the same period, including private jet transportation to a luxury Alaska fishing lodge, expensive lodging and fishing accommodations tied to billionaire Paul Singer, and gifts that the Senate Judiciary Committee concluded should have been disclosed under federal law. Now, Americans watching at home understand.
Amber, can I help you there? Because you said this is why we will never get the actual fraud out of the Supreme Court without a civil war, without amending the Constitution. No, you just set ethics laws. It's really fucking simple. I don't understand the Civil War talk there. What you need is Republicans out of the way. This is I'm not saying this like as somebody who doesn't like Republicans. Obviously, I don't like Republicans. Republicans do not care about bribes and corruption. They just don't. We've tried passing legislation before. The only way, Amber, if you want this gone, there's one way, legitimately, that this gets taken care of. Democrats win the midterms. They win the House and the Senate, and they attempt to, and then they get rid of the filibuster, and then they try and pass ethics laws for the Supreme Court, and they hope that Trump signs it. And if Trump doesn't sign it, then Democrats need to maintain the House and the Senate, and a Democrat needs to win, or a Republican who's willing to sign that into law. It really is that simple. We don't need a civil war. We don't need a new constitutional amendment. We can just create laws as a governing body that has oversight and creates laws, and we can create ethics laws for the Supreme Court. And then the Supreme Court has to rule based on those laws that are created by Congress. It really is that simple. I think you're going way too far with the Civil War shit and constitutional amendments. You can simply write a law. And because Republicans won't vote for it, you might have to kill the filibuster so it's a simple majority. But whatever you think of these laws, the biggest hurdle is Republicans. Democrats are on board with this. You'll notice that when you can go watch this hearing, you'll watch Republicans try and accuse Democrats of doing the same thing. And it's literally, I think it's Ketanji Brown Jackson that's like, she took concert tickets. And it was like a political fundraiser, and they like made up the value of the concert tickets of what they would have been if it was an actual concert. It's Republicans that love this type of corruption. It's Republicans that are making it so Citizens United still exists. It's Republicans who are standing in the way of banning insider trading in Congress. It is Republicans. So we just need them not to be in power. That's as simple as it gets. You want money out of politics? Even if you don't like Democrats, you don't like progressives, go vote for a bunch of progressives until you get money out of politics, and then you can go back and vote for your Republicans. But the Republicans are completely owned by billionaires. Progressives never are owned by billionaires because we advocate for shit that doesn't help billionaires. Why the fuck would they pay us? They'll pay somebody like Schumer. They'll pay somebody like Nancy Pelosi. They'll pay Hakeem Jeffries. They'll pay. It's not Stefanik. Is it Stefanik? I never remember if she's the Republican or not. There's Stefanik and the other New Yorker that I always mix up which is which. One's a Democrat, one's not. Slotkin is who I'm thinking of. But just vote for progressives and you can get money out of politics. You can get corruption out of the government. But as long as you keep voting for establishment Democrats or any Republican, you're not getting money out of politics. You have to vote for progressives. And it's all the people that you hate. So now you got to decide, and that's why we consistently ask you to challenge your views on socialism and communism and understand it. Because the reason you don't vote for progressives is because all of these people with money, all the corruption, they paint everybody who's not corrupt as a communist and a socialist. And they tell you to be afraid of those people. And so you're more afraid of them than the corruption. And so all the least corruptible people in Congress get run out or they're just stuffed in a corner. And that's where we're at. You guys need to just be better. Recognize who's advocating for these laws, recognize who's promoting them, and see who's voting against them, and stop voting for the people that vote against them.
This is wrong. Billionaires should not be getting the kind of undisclosed access and luxury relationship with Supreme Court justices. So let me ask you this, Professor Bowie, yes or no?
Yeah, I just always mix up Slotkin and Elise Stefanik. I don't know why. I know they're not from the same state, I guess. I think it said they were both from New York. That's right, Slotkin's from Michigan. But I don't know why I mix those two up every time.
No. Do you believe these kinds of gifts and luxury travel arrangements undermine confidence in the court?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I would ask a unanimous...
Remember when John Oliver offered Thomas an RV and salary to retire and stop taking bribes? I forgot about that. I did not. Thoughts on court packing? Pack the courts. Pack the fucking courts. Why not? It's not unconstitutional. I don't know why Republicans play it off like it's a boogeyman, like they didn't do it. Republicans stole the fucking Supreme Court. Like, I'm so tired of them acting like they have morals here. It's bought and paid for. Merrick Garland should be a Supreme Court justice, but in the middle, Republicans just made up a new rule. They're like, oh, it's the last year before an election, and because it's an election year, we can't put Merrick Garland through. And Lindsey Graham stood on the floor of the Senate. It's like, if this ever happens in reverse, we would never allow it to go through. And then I believe it was, what's her name? What's the Supreme Court justice? What is her name? Why am I blanking on her name? I can see her face. Anyways. Then when it was in an election year, they pushed through a Supreme Court justice. They stole this majority. So fuck them. And don't even engage in it. Like, this court packing is bad. You already did it. And you did it with corrupt judges, too. The judges that Democrats should put forth should not be in question as far as where they're getting money. The Republicans stole the Supreme Court and put corrupt Supreme Court justices in. They do not have morals. They do not have values. They don't care about anything other than winning, and they don't play by any rules. Fuck them. It's not a rule that you can't pack the court. There's no rule that says you can't do that. So fucking do it. Don't play by we got to keep these established norms. They're not doing it. So the norms are out the window. Play by the rules. Pack the Supreme Court.
consent to put into the record a CNBC
Amy Coney Barrett, thank you.
Article on Justice Thomas's acceptance of gifts, a ProPublica article on the same, 2 ProPublica articles on the same topic, a Senate Judiciary Committee press release.
Tanya said to finish off the gift goal. Appreciate that.
And an additional article from ProPublica.
Without objection, so ordered.
And I would yield the balance of my time to the ranking member.
Thank you kindly, Ms. Lofgren.
Alberto said thank you for your work. Thank you. Jen wants me to remind. We did hit our gift goal. Jen wanted me to remind you that we were short on the gift goal yesterday, so you can keep going if you want to. But here's Jamie Raskin to finish this off, and then we'll be done for the day.
Picking up on that point, there's a $50 gift ban, a $50 gift ban that applies to all of us in Congress and to the executive branch as well. Would you agree that it would enhance the independence of the court from not just congressional presidential attacks, but special interest domination to apply a $50 gift ban to the Supreme Court justices? Professor Bowie, if you go first.
Yes, and I'll just note that Congress has already passed laws that prohibit justices from taking bribes. Congress has also passed laws that require the justices to recuse from cases in which their impartiality may reasonably be questioned.
Yes.
But they police themselves, right? So you have to change that. You can't allow them to police themselves. Like impartiality is like Justice Thomas has had multiple cases where there were people before the court that he had an obvious conflict of interest with, and he just doesn't recuse himself. He's like, no, I've decided that I can be impartial here. There's no question about that. Yeah, I know that we're not supposed to take gifts, but they're from friends and they're not political gifts, so I can just take them. As long as they're given after, right? That was their ruling. As long as it's after, then it's not a bribe. Bribes can only happen before.
Attorney General Cabosi, do you agree that a $50 gift ban should apply to all 3 branches, not just 2?
I'm skeptical that such a ban is needed for the Supreme Court, but at the same time, I don't have a strong opposition to such a proposal.
Okay, Mr. Ross.
How the fuck? Anybody? This is the Republican witness. How the fuck do you say this?
It's not just 2.
I'm skeptical that such a ban is needed for the Supreme Court, but at the same time, I don't have a strong opposition to such a...
I'm skeptical that a ban is needed on taking gifts. Oh, where does that skepticism originate? How the fuck are you skeptical that we need a ban? Of course we need a fucking ban. What are you talking about? Supreme Court judges should not be able to take bribes, should not be able to take gifts. How are you skeptical of that?
Proposal.
Okay, Mr. Ross.
I would agree with Solicitor General.
Okay, and Mr. Scher.
Well, I think there's a fundamental...
Of course, that's the answer, that he's paid to say that. You're right, but I guess morally, how did you say that?
Fundamental difference between members of Congress and Supreme Court justices in this regard. I mean, when you're a member of Congress, just about every person in your district and elsewhere in the country is a potential supplicant for your services and your assistance. When you're in the Supreme Court, you're only dealing with a relatively limited number of cases with...
This is such bullshit. And Raskin's going to tear this apart, but this is just such a bullshit thing. He's like, oh, well, members of Congress are more likely to be bribed because everybody that you come across in your district is potentially somebody who could bribe you to get what you want. But the Supreme Court, people don't come in front of you that often. Like, it's very rare that somebody's going to be in front of you. True. A lot of these people that are giving Clarence Thomas money, they are funding lawsuits, or they are funding special interest groups who are bringing lawsuits, or who are indirectly then funding other lawsuits. They are ideological people who are conditioning these Supreme Court judges to have certain thoughts, certain ideologies, and then they're bringing these cases before the Supreme Court. And what Clarence Thomas gets to say is, Harlan Crow wasn't here. But what Clarence Thomas doesn't have to say is, I took millions of dollars from Harlan Crow, and we go on these vacations together and we talk about our ideology and how our ideology is shaped. And so at the very least, Harlan Crow has inside information of how somebody would present a case to get Clarence Thomas to, and that's best case scenario, because everybody knows that's fucking bullshit. Everybody knows that Clarence Thomas, if you've ever watched, Clarence Thomas sits on his ass and says almost nothing ever. I listened to these Supreme Court hearings ever. Clarence Thomas says like 2 things. His mind is made up long before people show up every fucking time. And it's because he's paid to have his mind made up. But if you wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt, all the benefit of the doubt in the world, at best you could say that Harlan Crow has an insider look into his mind and his ideology, and he could instruct people on how to shape an argument that works for Clarence Thomas. This is just such fucking corrupt bullshit by all of these people. And it's the type of shit that everybody hates in Washington, where they pretend that, like, oh, it's not really clear. It's different if you're in Congress. It's not the same if you're a Supreme Court. Yeah, it's different. But a bribe is a bribe. Insider information is insider information. You know how you stop this? Don't let anybody get gifts. Ever. Why the fuck do Supreme Court justices need gifts? If we need to pay him more, I'm fine with that. Pay him $500,000 a year. What is a Supreme Court justice's salary? A couple $100,000? Pay him $1 million a year. I don't give a fuck. Pay them and then say you can't take bribes. That's easy.
People who have direct interest in your work, and so it's certainly appropriate. And I know Justice Thomas, and he's scrupulous about avoiding accepting gifts from anybody who has
scrupulous. The thing I know about Justice Thomas is he's scrupulous about this. Bitch, we just saw a half of a 20-minute video. At that point, he had racked up millions of dollars in gifts. He's scrupulous. He makes sure. The fuck? Who are these people that are speaking for the Republicans? Republicans, why do you think they brought these witnesses? If your party's serious about getting corruption, how would they choose these witnesses who have the audacity to stand before the American people and be like, Justice Thomas would never? Are you out of your fucking mind? Everybody knows. Nobody thinks Justice Thomas is clean.
business before the Supreme.
His salary's $320. Yeah, bump it up. I don't give a shit. If we have to pay him more so they don't take bribes, whatever.
Court. Well, we need to have a hearing on that then.
Sorry?
We have a completely different point of view on that point. But don't you think just in terms of public perception, it would be much better not to believe that justices could be compromised?
Roberts is 320. Everybody else is 306. I don't know if any of these numbers are right, but I'm going to trust you.
By virtue of receiving gifts from people who appear before them. After all, they have no binding ethics code now. They're the only Supreme Court in America that don't have a binding ethics code. And so without a binding ethics code, we're leaving it up to them to decide.
I don't think it would affect the reality of their independence. It might affect the public perception of their independence. It would take away a talking point.
So you think it's okay for a billionaire to pay for Clarence Thomas's nephew's private school tuition? That's okay.
If the billionaire doesn't have any business before Justice Thomas, there's nothing wrong with
And if
that.
he does, you would
Why
agree?
is there, even if he doesn't, why is that okay? Especially with the amount of money that they get. Why is this okay?
That's wrong. If he does have business before the court, you would agree that's wrong?
If he has concrete business before the court, then that would be a different matter. And
See how he's doing it now? Concrete business. So now you're not, it has to be his case, right? The only way that this is a problem is if Harlan Crow himself has a case before the Supreme Court. It has to be concrete, directly tied to him. You see, I don't know who's paying this guy. Probably Harlan Crow. Why are the Republicans consistently standing up? You saw there's four witnesses here. The witness that the Democrats brought were like, this should absolutely not be allowed. There should absolutely be laws. You should not be able to take gifts. And every Republican witness is like, it's a gray area. Let them take gifts. Why are you guys so pro-corruption?
Confident in that situation, Justice Thomas would recuse from cases that involved him.
Okay.
Yes.
And what about a situation where somebody with potential business before
I'd
the
ask
court?
unanimous consent that the gentlelady have an additional 30 seconds.
Oh, yeah, just to complete this point.
Yeah.
Reclaiming my time, if I may say also that you can have a pecuniary interest before the court, but many of these billionaires have philosophical points of view that is before the court, and that's why
If
they're
only Nick Shirley were there to investigate. He'll get to the bottom of it.
paying off the justices, and I yield back to
Well,
you.
and just to complete that question, so if Justice Thomas or any justice were to get a free recreational vehicle from somebody who has an interest in the work of the court, do you think that that would be legitimate, or do you think that they should be held to the same standard we are, a $50 gift ban, somebody can take you out for lunch?
If they have a concrete business interest before the court, then yeah, it would be inappropriate for Justice Thomas to accept that kind of a gift and then sit on a case that involves
What if they have a general business interest before? What if they have a general business interest before the court?
Well, I don't.
See, we don't get into that in Congress. That is, we basically say we're going to cut it off at the pass. None of us are going to be compromised.
But that's true.
Okay, I apologize, but I'm going to close this off because.
Thank you. I'm with that there, Day Glow Ginger. No fucking gifts at all. How fucking hard is this? Why are the Republicans fighting so hard to allow Supreme Court justices to take lavish vacations for free? Jason, I saw you talking shit about Amy Lynn, and I like Amy Lynn. So let's talk to me, and you can talk directly to me. I saw you saying some dumb shit. So before we close this out, I need you to explain to me, Jason, why do you think the Republican members here have brought 3 witnesses that are all fighting for judges to take free vacations and get gifts? You want to answer that question, please? Guys, and nobody engage with Jason. Jason, you're with me now. Tell me why you think it is that all 3 Republicans are advocating that they should be able to take gifts. Who wants to bet Jason doesn't answer this directly? He'll get offended that I asked him a question. I don't have to answer. Or he'll leave, or he'll change the subject. The one thing he won't do is give us an explanation as to why those 3 Republicans are advocating that they take gifts. We'll wait for you, Jason. I know you got to get your thoughts together. Don't they hate that? They really don't like it when you ask them direct questions, huh? Jason, we all stopped. The class is looking at you today, Jason. It's your turn. You wanted attention. You needed attention. We're giving you the attention now. Why did all the Republicans advocate for gifts?
Mr. Gooden's next, but I will say to the gentlelady and to the gentleman that although I can't support the full bill that was authored earlier this year on forcing a set, I would be happy to entertain discussion between our staff and individually the members on trying to harmonize some aspect of what is non-reimbursed.
Why do you think Republicans, Jason, you can ask this one too. Why do you think now the chair is here saying that we would never consider a full ban, but maybe we could put our heads together and come up with something? But yeah, we can't ban them from taking gifts. This is Daryl Issa. No, Pierre, you can answer my question. See how hard this is? Okay, Democrats are the most corrupt individuals in this country. You silly little bitch. You silly fucking bitch. You're exactly who we all thought you would be.
The Democrats are actually the problem. I don't want to answer this question directly.
Yeah, dude, you're just dumb and opinionated. You're just like everybody, every MAGA that comes in here every day, just dumb and opinionated. Your biggest fear is that somebody will directly ask you a question and you'll be exposed, and you did it. You answered exactly how we all expected you to answer.
Well, what about the Democrats? I don't like to answer direct questions.
Well, the Democrat here was advocating that they not be able to be given gifts. And all the Republicans are like, oh, it's fine. We would never break the rules. All right, Jason.
Democrats hate our country. They hate everything that our Constitution stands for. They hate the fact that we are a constitutional republic and not a direct...
Jesus Christ, this is so fucking stupid. This is the dumbest. Keep going, Jason. We're going to read them. I'm going to read them all. That's what we hate. Yeah, that's what the Democrats hate. Keep going, sweetheart. You're doing great today. Get them all out. Did we get to the Obama part yet? Get to that part yet? What about wokeness? Have you called us communists yet? Keep going, bud. You're making great points. When we asked you why the Republicans support bribes.
Because the Democrats don't even like America. They take the Constitution out and they wipe their bums with it. Gay bums. They're all gay. All their bums are gay.
Keep going, Jason. We want more of this, please. I went over just for you. Anything else, bud? All right. Jen, did I miss anything? Might have lost Jen.
Let me look. Let me see if there's anything else.
Taking notes, because we don't have to pack the court. It's easier to strip SCOTUS jurisdiction back to core constitutional powers, arbitration between states, and create a randomized appeals court made from the circuits. I would like that too. That's a good idea. I don't know that that would be easier to do though. I think if we're talking about like what you could actually get done and accomplish quickly, I think that perhaps packing the courts is the easier way. But yeah, and maybe that's maybe you pack the courts and then say, here's an olive branch to Republicans. If you don't want this, we'll give you the other ways.
You guys are the greatest hypocrites that I've ever seen in my life. Anytime we actually almost lose our constitutional rights, it comes at the hands of Democrats and Democrat justices.
What rights, bud?
Meanwhile, you guys ignorantly and perpetually conflate things that aren't actually in the Constitution as being rights when they're not.
Keep going, Jason. Make sure to not be specific about fucking anything ever. Just speak in general platitudes. You're doing great. It's like a Fox News monologue.
Democrats are the worst. All they ever do is take away our rights. They would have strung up George Washington.
Keep going, Jason. Anything, Jen?
Nope, we got it. Everything.
All right, guys. We'll see you tomorrow morning and every weekday morning, 9:30 a.m. to 1 Pacific Standard Time right here on YouTube, TikTok, and Twitch. TikTok, thanks for joining us today. We'll be back tomorrow where we'll immediately have our audience throttled. But until we are throttled, it'll be a really, really good time. Guys, go outside and touch grass. If you can't touch grass, smoke grass. If you can't smoke grass or touch grass, best of luck to you. Look yourself in the mirror and tell yourself something nice about yourself. Be kind to your family and your friends. Get your boots on and put those boots on the ground. But most of all, like I said, love yourself. And until I see you guys all tomorrow morning, bright and early, stay cute and cool and have a great summer.